Yes. Unless
that would be bad.
that's what they.
For the kids excited.
Yes. Oh, yeah. It took us so good.
I can see
High
that.
schoolers are not really.
I can see that too.
It was kind of just one of those. Really good as a day. It was a day.
Chair calls to order the Tipp City Exempt Village Schools Board of Education meeting. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mrs. Fox, if you can call attendance, please.
Simon Patry,
Here.
Rick Maines,
Here.
Amber Drum,
Here.
Teresa Dunaway, here, Ann Zakor.
Here.
We're all present and accounted for. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Mrs. Fox. Next item is our approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Is there a second? First from Mr. Maines, is there a second to approve the agenda?
Second.
First, Mr. Maines, second, Mrs. Drum. Any discussion?
I have some things to change. I'm kind of confused. We did it a little different in January at the work session. So do you want me to do them in section 9 and then section 10, or should I make changes now?
I'm not sure which changes you're wishing to make. If it relates to consent agenda, you just need to request to remove the items. It doesn't need to be seconded or anything like that.
Right now, or do you want me to do it during 9A consent agenda?
I think now makes sense, but
Okay.
I wouldn't stop anyone from doing it later on.
And then I also have a suggestion and change for 10. So I'm assuming I have to do that one now because we don't do a motion in a second. We just go right to 10A.
So on just starting with your changes to the consent agenda,
Yep.
which ones were you going to remove?
I would like to remove F, G, I, K, and L.
Just to confirm, F, G, I, K, and L.
Correct.
All right. Mrs. Fox, did you catch all of those?
Well, I have them in here as a comment. However, I haven't made a change yet.
We're going to need to,
Correct.
yeah, those automatically come out of consent agenda once requested, so it'll be,
Okay.
so F, G, I, K, and L will be removed from the consent agenda. Let me know when you're ready, Mrs. Fox, for us to keep going.
F, J, I, K, and L.
F, G, as in go, I, K, and L.
And as I'm moving them, of course, they're changing letters. So now I've got the minutes up there and consent. So if you can tell me the topic, I apologize. Classified new hire, does that remain in the consent?
We're removing program of studies,
Okay, got that one out.
gifted education plan,
Pulled that one out. So the substitutes,
well, looks like mine is up there as well, so.
sorry, they kept making this, and I just.
Mrs. Dunaway, if you could assist us with the ones you wanted removed.
Yeah, definitely. F is resignations.
Okay, that's pulled down.
G is classified new hire. I is substitutes. K is Am I going too fast? Okay. K is leave of absence. L is third grade reading guarantee tutors. Can you repeat?
I'm just making sure. Please change my sign
And so you were not removing program of studies, is that correct?
No, that was already F in new
Once it was
business.
No.
That was a standalone. She was an F off of the consent agenda.
I'm with you.
So it appears the only thing in consent then would be remaining are the minutes. Third grade reading guarantee.
No, I took that out. I took that out. That was L.
Okay.
Yep. L comes
Code
out.
hiring resolutions and supplementals. The other ones are down in new business.
Okay.
And then,
Is it all caught up?
Yeah, the only thing I just need to change these so they're not consent items because it's gonna carry my vote over. So
I have a change when you, let me know when you're ready.
marked consent. Okay, so I'm still on the agenda. I've got those changed.
okay.
And then,
Anyone else?
Simon,
Go ahead, Mrs. Dunaway.
And then under new business, I would suggest that we take items D and G. D is curriculum discussion. G is gifted education plan, because those are at the bottom of the agenda. I would like to move those to A and B.
Yeah,
Because
so
our
our
administrators-
letters are all changed. So it's curriculum and
Yeah,
discussion.
so-
Discuss it.
Curriculum discussion and gifted education plan. Go ahead, Amber, what?
No, same thing. I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, I would like to move those to A and B because our administrators have already had 14-hour days.
Yeah.
And to make them stay for the entire meeting and then have an hour drive home, to me, does not seem conscientious or considerate.
It's curriculum discussion.
Curriculum discussion and gifted education plan because we have administrative presenters.
So what are presently now with the revised agenda as K and N, as in Nancy?
Oh, I see that. Sorry.
I would second that motion to move them up to A and B. I'm gonna treat that as a motion, Mrs. Dunaway, if that's all right with you.
Doesn't matter to me.
So we have a motion to move curriculum discussion and gifted education plan to the first items of business under item 10, new business. Is there any discussion?
I have a question. Is program of studies also going to be covered during that too? Because if so, then that should move as well.
Mark, that,
Program of studies, the curriculum discussion is the discussion about the program of studies, and the program of studies agenda item is just the vote
Got it. Okay.
after the presentation.
Just wanted to check.
Are you caught up, Melanie?
So the original motion, we have a second motion.
No, it's just,
there's only one motion,
Right.
so there, the first thing was just as a matter of privilege, Mrs. Dunaway, and any board member can remove anything from the consent agenda without a vote, just by requesting it. That's occurred. The second thing to occur is Mrs. Dunaway still had the floor and made a motion to move two items in item 10 to the beginning of the agenda for item 10, which were the curriculum discussion and and the gifted education plan. That was moved by Mrs. Dunaway and seconded by myself, Mr. Patry. And is there any further discussion concerning that issue?
Not that issue, but I have one more item.
All right, I would suggest we have that all together, then go ahead.
I would also like to add an item to new business, just a quick continuity of learning plan update.
So you're adding an item.
Yeah, unless you want to change your second, Simon, because you already seconded.
I'll second it as well. So,
Continuity of learning plan update.
and that'll be letter R.
I would like to make a motion that we don't even bother with that. It just might come on taped again. Just leave it fall. Let it be. Don't even worry about it. I kind of like it like that.
Anything else?
I don't have anything else. I had,
What it was called, I'm sorry, it was what learning update?
it was continuity
Continuity.
of learning plan update.
This is just discussion
Yeah, it shouldn't be more than a few minutes.
information.
Melanie, B is listed as new agenda item. Is that supposed to be, do you see that? It says curriculum discussion A, B, new agenda item. C is gifted education
Yeah, I
plan.
just moved it down.
Yeah.
So if I hit save
Yeah, B
now,
should just be deleted.
it should be,
Hmm.
I moved it down
Okay.
to,
Gotcha.
had to move it down.
Thank
into
you.
My refresh and see if you see it.
Okay, I'll refresh again. It takes a minute.
I refreshed before and don't see that, so I think if we refresh it'll put in there whatever you put into B.
I got an R in there, so I got no B, I got curriculum discussion, gifted education. Changing assignments, still under consignment. Is it updated for you?
Mhm.
Go back into this.
It looks right to me. Anybody else see anything that didn't refresh?
I think I lost my Tipp Middle School and Tipp High School curriculum under
Is it
D, new business. Oh, it's on here now.
D is now classified new hire.
Where did the THS and TMS go? Program studies.
Let me look at this.
Ooh, I see what it did. Look at N. Okay.
Okay, it's
N,
on that now.
program studies. I think that should be moved to the top. It should be item C.
That was, yeah, that was,
C.
that was Amber's question, but then Mr. Stefanik said it doesn't need to be moved because the discussion's gonna happen in A and B. Am I remembering that correctly, Mr.
Well-
Stefanik?
A specifically, yeah,
Okay.
A specifically is about the vote on N. If you want to have them paired up, so that.
Yeah, I mean, I
I
see-
think
It
you
doesn't
should have
matter.
them up.
I see Ann's point.
Absolutely, because, well, we've got the curriculum director here. Should that become a question or? In fact, I would put that as item 10. 10B. And then, or I guess maybe 10C, but definitely move.
Do you see what Ann's saying?
Grant acceptance down.
And saying to put the program of studies as C. That way those top three are all together, curriculum discussion, gifted education plan, and program of studies. That way if there's any questions, they're all addressed at the very beginning, and then people can head out. Save the whole meeting.
That's fine with me if it's fine with the rest of the group here. Just make it part of Mrs. Dunaway's motion, and then I'll second that. Next time, I think we'll just open up, modifying the agenda to discussion, and then once we get a plan of action, we'll move at that time. I moved prematurely, it seems. So we've got. Is there any discussion concerning any additional changes or anything that was proposed thus far?
I've got a couple of typos.
Okay,
I don't have to move anything, just a couple of typos.
sounds good. So,
My only other suggestion under discussion would be if we want to do an IRS update. I mean, that's just, nobody wants to second, but that would be my only other suggestion is IRS update.
I think we got a pretty full play right now. I think if there's an update.
Can we get the IRS update and the Friday board update then? Is that possible?
I can actually just volunteer some information because I'm waiting.
Okay.
Yeah. Should have a call within a week, so. Wish I had some more information.
All right. So are you wanting to have the IRS, Teresa, or are you good without it?
I want to add it, but if nobody else does, I'm perfectly fine with letting it go. It should be under old business, but I'm good.
We may have something for the board update, but it might not be
So-
the next one.
So
All right.
presently then the additions and revisions are what we discussed related to removing the consent agendas, which have already been squared away. And then item 10, the addition of the continuity learning plan and moving up the items that relate to curriculum discussions, gifted education plan, and the voting on the program of studies as the first three items under new business 10. And then that was motioned by Mrs. Dunaway and seconded by me. Any further discussion? Call the vote, please.
Mr. Patrick, where would you like to put the typo corrections? You know, put those in before the vote or after the vote?
I mean, it's up to you, Mr. Svaga. It's treated like a housekeeping matter. It's not a big deal to me. It's not big. You can go ahead and do it now if you wish.
Well, I mean, I can make the changes when we get to each of the items, if you'd like to do that.
I think that makes sense.
Okay.
Okay, so to clarify the final motion, it was by Teresa and then by Simon, correct?
Yeah, motion second.
Dunaway,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Drum,
Yes.
Means,
Yes.
and Zakor.
Yes.
All right. Agenda's been modified. The next committee reports, start with MVCTC. Some meeting minutes here from December and November. And then, Mr. Stefanik, would this make sense for you to share some information with the group relating to what you discovered concerning the policies on that?
And we had it listed in the next section.
Oh, well, we can do it then. That's fine.
I'm fine either spot.
Well, let's just deal with the minutes then. Any discussion related to these minutes or any motions related to these minutes?
Are we doing all committee reports or just the CTC?
Just related to the CTC so far. All right. Nothing on the CTC minutes. Is there any other committee reports that wish to report? Any committees that wish to report? Just has to be recognized.
Well, I did reach out to the parks, because I have the parks this year. And so Simon, you had the parks last year, but they never met. I did find out that they do meet every other month. And the person was very nice. She gave me the schedule, kind of caught me up to speed a little bit on what's been going on the last quarter. And they haven't seen a board member in 2 or 3 years. So I told her that I would definitely be attending. And if there's anything we could do, that we're always available and ready to help. So hopefully I'll have a lot to report since it's been 3 years. I'll catch everybody up as best I can. That's right. I might have to get like a whole item. I was just joking. So anyway, but the first meeting's in March. So, yep,
Any other committees that you're on, Teresa, you wish to report for?
that was my only meeting this month. That was it.
Anybody else?
I was at the TEE meeting. I attended that and got to meet some ladies and stuff, so that was cool, on Zoom. Meeting went well. I think they have, we have grants to approve from them today too, and they may be. Okay, she's just gonna hang out over there, just kidding. And then I also was at the library for the trustee induction, and that was pretty fun. I enjoyed that as well. Got to see Lisa and Frank and some other people, so.
Thank you, Mrs. Drummond. Anybody else? On the facility side, I would report that we have a meeting in February with energy optimizers. I can't recall the exact date. Do you remember?
Kim's my memory on that.
That's all right.
I think it's the 19th.
And then we'll have something to provide after that. I don't have any other committee reports. Anybody else? All right. We're on to superintendent comments, 3A.
17th.
17th, February 17th. Yes. Thank you.
All right. Aside from some of our decorations falling down with the sticky tack not working, January is set aside as School Board Recognition Month. It gives communities a chance to thank board members for their service to the community. And officially, the Ohio School Boards Association sends certificates of appreciation to all board members. And the certificate reads, this certificate is presented in sincere appreciation for exemplary leadership and service to the public schools. School Board Recognition Month, January 2022, presented by Robert M. Hurd, President, Ohio School Boards Association, Richard Lewis, Chief Executive Officer, Ohio School Boards Association. So on behalf of the Tipp City Schools, we'd like to give each of our board members a certificate and thank them for their service to Tipp City and the Tipp City community. But we can't just give you something from OSBA. We have to give you something from the heart. And so we have a little thank you bag from us personally to go along with your certificate from the state.
Aw, that's sweet, guys. Thank you.
Mr. Patrick. Thank you very much. Ms. Dunaway.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, they're pretty this year.
Mrs.
I like the red. They're usually just like white.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Bain.
I know.
Well, you're 2 meetings in.
Yeah.
Respected
In the bag is student artwork. So
Oh,
each of the,
yay!
yes, each of the buildings, there are students who made
I
cards.
still
So
have
you
mine
will
from
see
last year.
Cards with student artwork on the front.
I
So
love
thank you.
it. Thank you. Yeah. I should have brought mine from last year in. Look how pretty
Very
it
nice.
is too.
Just for board members' information, the state recognized that, well, OSBA, not necessarily the state, OSBA recognized that we had 2 new members on the board. So certificates of appreciation are also being sent to Ms. Dahl and Ms. Heatherly as well. So even though their service is finished, we thank them for the service from last school year, and they get a certificate from OSBA as well.
Nice.
That's awesome.
I would like to say these are gorgeous.
I can't wait to open mine.
We have talented
Open it.
students.
Are they all the same for the, or everybody's
Yes.
gift is different?
No,
They're
it's the same.
They're the same.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is from Carly Federley, 12th grade to high school. Look at that. It's
There's
gorgeous.
one from each grade level.
Yeah.
Oh,
really?
That's so
That's very cool. They're too pretty to use, you can keep them.
William Hecht, 9th grade, Tipp High School.
That's neat.
So who organized this overall for the entire, to coordinate all the buildings? Who was that?
Kristen.
Kristen. Oh.
Students will
Callie
actually,
Fitzpatrick, 8th grade, Tipp Middle School, the cats. These are gorgeous.
That would be weird if it was accidentally one of our kids.
If
Like,
they
oh,
produce-
like, I didn't even know.
If they produce these online, I think we'd have enough money to pay for everything in this district because they're just so.
That would be cool. That'd be a neat fundraiser.
Addison Smith, 6th grade, Tipp Middle School. Cute.
Reach out to one of the pie
They're
groups.
so sweet. Brooklyn Holtzapfel, 5th grade, LT Ball.
That's really pretty. That's
yeah.
really pretty. I love the colors.
I want to know how you can order reorders.
Yeah, Kristen. There you go.
Maria Underwood, 4th grade, LT Ball.
Oh, that's cute. What is that? That's like a fall.
Candy.
Oh, that's neat. Who doesn't like candy? Oh, that's super cool.
Claire Frazier, 3rd grade, Broadway.
That is neat.
I'm not sure what is that.
That is
but it's quite
Very neat.
psychedelic.
That's neat. That's very cool. That's a nice one.
Eve Ballantyne, 3rd grade, Broadway.
Holy cow, look at that.
That's
For a
really
third
Isn't that
grader.
darling? I mean, you
Yeah,
can plug these into all different types of events
wow,
to send for.
that's pretty amazing.
Ooh, I'm not sure, what does that say, Reese?
Yep, Reese Walters.
Reese Walters, 1st grade, Nevin Kopic. Oh, look at that.
Oh my
Little
God,
pumpkin.
Is that darling?
It's cute.
that's pretty impressive for a
It
first
is
grade.
very
Oh my
impressive.
gosh,
And then a snoopy here
that's very
is
impressive.
Fiona Ballantyne, kindergarten.
That's really neat.
I know what her favorite Christmas movie is.
Right? Oh, thank you very much.
Those are
This is
very nice.
Thank you. Thank you.
Those are
Thank you.
nice.
students will be recognized this week for their artwork, and Kristen also ordered cards for them.
Oh,
So we will be
good.
out in the buildings this week to present that to
Very
them as
love
well.
that. That's neat. Very cool.
Thank you for all your work on that.
Very talented
you.
artists. Wow. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Mr. Stefanik?
Great. Second item is Oregon State statute. School district has to present to the board chair or board president twice a year on a bullying and harassment incident summary report. And so we've got the chart that was presented to the board, and it shows that we had 7 incidents at Tippecanoe High School and 3 incidents at the middle school in the first semester. And so we report that out, and our administrators, take care of each report and investigate and take necessary action once their investigations are complete.
Isn't that high? 7 incidents for one semester from one building?
Um,
Higher than usual?
I look back, I went back into the Dr. Kumpf years, and we're right in the 7 to 10 range for the district in per semester. And what I can say, we've got some new administrators, and I looked at some of the details, and a couple of them were alleged bullying incidents, but after the investigation was concluded, they determined that it was not a bullying situation. And so our total numbers would actually be a little bit lower than that.
Any other questions from Mr. Stefanik on that?
No, I had just reached out, Mr. Stefanik, because I was on the board when this got put into place the first time. And I couldn't remember if it was a year-to-year contract, but it's one of those things where when you do have employee turnover, this is one of the things, I don't want to say it falls to the crack because we have it, it's working, it's functioning, but it's kind of one of those, if it's not broke, don't fix it sort of a thing. So I forget how many years we've had it now, maybe 4? 3, I want to say 3 or 4 years. I can't remember. I've been on the board, I guess too many years when you forget that, but Yeah, that would be my only suggestion is I'm not sure how much this program has changed. I know the other one that we looked at was actually called, this one's called Safe School, and the other one was actually called Anonymous Alerts. And because I'm the board member that brought this to the board, because I found it all at Capitol Conference, and each of them had a little kind of like things you could do.
Sure.
And so because we have 4 new administrators, 2 at the middle school, 2 at the high school, maybe they used a different one at their school. So if they have positive feedback about why they love one, or I don't know if there's new ones that have been created in the 4 years we've had this, it might be a time to, just say, yeah, if you know anything or have any suggestions, feel free. So.
And
4 years is a long time to
Yeah.
not look at, yeah.
Right, to follow up on that, Ms. Dunaway's talking about the anonymous tip line that we have through our website. And we do get some of the bullying concerns through that, but some of the ones that we have this year, they came through reports, actual student reports to counselors or administrators, or parent phone calls into to administrators. So there are multiple ways to report when you have a concern, but the anonymous tip line is definitely one of them.
You can text, make a phone call, or go on your computer.
Yes.
So it's pretty much everybody has a cell phone.
Yes.
So you can text or call.
Yeah.
So.
Public service announcement for that. For some, they use that as one of the sites to express concerns, i.e. Why we either did or didn't call a snow day on a particular
Not what
day.
this is for.
That's not what the anonymous tip line is really for. You can use information at Tip City or my email directly to send me those types of concerns. Really, the anonymous tip line is supposed to be a safety reporting thing for students. And again, on the snow day, I guess you could go, we have some student drivers and that could be student safety,
Yeah.
but it really is supposed to be more about,
Serious
mental
matters,
health
yeah.
and bullying harassment type of reports through the anonymous tip line. So we do have another, reporting source, info at Tip City. So you can definitely use that. They're both on the same website, or the links are, so you can use those for those types of concerns as well.
Any other questions for Mr. Stefanik on this? Go ahead, Mr. Stefanik.
All right.
I just wanted to make one comment, if I may.
Sorry.
On this summary.
Yes.
Bullying. I think it could be very helpful if there was just another category and could put in there, like the 7 incidents at the high school. What were they? I mean, in other words, you could help to see what's trending, if anything. Is this, like bullying student? I mean, like a boyfriend, girlfriend type situation got bullied because she took him and that, or is it something to do with sports? Is it something to do with, in other words, sort of the nidus behind what's driving the alleged bullying or harassment event?
And I might be able to find some categories to put the reports in. What we have to guard against is that we're not moving along like an appeals process timeline. So if an administrator at the building level makes a decision about a concern, an incident, and consequences and so forth and so on, if there is no appeal, the process stops there. If the appeal then comes up to me, then I hear it, and then if there's still some concern, the appeal went to the board. So if I need some categories, we'd have to make sure that those categories were general enough that the board wasn't getting specific incident information.
Well, the good thing is we get this report after the fact. Do you know what I mean? We're getting it now in January for October, November, December.
Yes.
So I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
But you would know by the time we got this report, more than likely, if somebody appealed,
We would.
they would have done it by now.
Yes, we would.
They would have already done it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't, what I'm saying is that, bullying is a big deal, and we have an obligation with the state to address it. And any intentional written, verbal, graphic, physical act, student to student over a period of time, causing mental, physical harm, fine. I can see all that, read all that. But then it becomes like, well, what would be, give an example that would fit into something like that? What would be an example of bullying that would meet all that criteria?
Cyberbullying.
Mhm.
Text messaging over a span of several days, being harassing type messages in text messaging.
Okay.
That would be an example.
And that cyberbullying, would it have to be on the confines of district emails, district internet system, or can it be
Off campus.
his personal with her personal?
If there's a tie to educational activities or educational programs, it can happen off campus. It can happen off of school devices and off of school internet or networks. But there has to be a connecting piece.
Okay, so I think this is a topic that should be a little more discussed, a little better understanding of where all the parameters are with this. I didn't think that a personal computer with a personal computer off campus could fall into this domain.
It could, but it wouldn't always.
I understand,
As a point of order,
Good.
as a point of order, this is solely the report of the incidents. It sounds like we're kind of moving into a policy discussion. I would suggest that we commit this to a work session where we can explore the policies and those types of questions, so we can move on with the rest of the meeting.
And that's where I thought Ms. Sikora was going, was that we would have a follow-up item
Yeah, it's a
to
discussion
discussion
to this.
about
right.
bullying and what fits into the bullying category and what
Mhm.
doesn't.
Yeah, I think in other words, it's just maybe from my perspective, a greater need to be educated on this, a greater need to understand what the parameters are, and I think that could be beneficial not only for the adults, but also for the students, to know, well, that's not really bullying. Oh, that could be bullying, and I'm kind of had enough of it, and I'm going to report it. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's pretty much, I would say that's at least nationwide, if not global. Sometimes the word bullying can just be thrown out there, but it doesn't meet the state's definition or the state's criteria. And so then the incident has to be put into another category.
So in closing, my recommendation would be to find some ways to elevate this to greater discussions with our community at the meetings. So,
To our list.
thank you.
Just define board rep and VCTC.
Yes. At the last meeting, there was concern that board policy had not been updated to align with state law, and we put an interim board rep in place, and that would be Mr. Maines. Come to find, as I was in conversation with Mr. Burkhart, the board policy book actually has multiple policies about the board representative to a joint vocational school district. And so we were referencing policy 0116, which is titled affiliation, and it speaks specifically to the joint vocational school district representative. But policy 0157 is called appointments to the joint vocational school district board. And it was updated in 2014. I would assume that was the Neola update. And what Mr. Burkhart said was policy 0116 should have been an accompanying policy that should have been updated at the same time, but it just wasn't. And so all the specific permissions and criteria for board representatives to MVCTC were in that policy 0157. So if the board wishes to have a community representative on the board, we do have a policy that is in full alignment with the state law.
Okay, great.
How do we proceed from there? I had contact with an individual that would like to take that position, very interested. in the CTC.
And we also had another person call the district office and inquire as to whether or not the board was going to be either posting the position or holding interviews for the position. So that gives at least 2 people that have an interest in that position. The CTC has sent me, I'll call it a checklist for lack of a better word, but it has the criteria that's listed in the policy and the state law on this checklist. And so when you're looking at the credentials of the people who are interested in serving, you see if they actually meet the criteria. Sitting board members don't have to meet the criteria. The criteria is just for community members that boards appoint to the board.
So can we put that out there to somehow to those 2 individuals, give them that criteria so that they can see if they meet it, and then
How we proceed, how we proceed is up to the board. I know in the past, I think it was said that there was a posting and an interview process.
Right.
And so if the board wishes to continue with that, we could do that. If we just open it up for people to express interest and then we figure out an application process, however you want to proceed. That I just wanted to say that we do have the policy that says that community members are permitted to be on that board.
So Brick had 1 or 2 people that reached
just
out,
one.
and I had 1 person that reached out to me, and so that's 3.
Okay.
So,
Because Rick had mentioned you kind of pretty much did that out of the kindness of your heart. This is your busy time. That was super nice of you. And I would, because he was so gracious, I would like to move ahead sooner rather than later.
Yes.
Thank you.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, thank you.
I feel like that would be unkind to you because you were kind to do it. Yeah.
Mrs. Dunaway, if you wish to make a motion, I think that would be a good time.
Do you want to do it, Rick? Because you brought it up. So if you want to make it, I don't want to steal your thunder. Oh,
Or I can make it.
yeah.
You make it.
Okay.
I move to authorize the administration to post the opening for the Miami Valley CTC board rep position, along with the requisite qualifications, and that they are in charge of providing us with the number of people they feel are qualified to choose from, and provide us a process by which we would determine who to appoint.
I'm a bit confused on the motion.
So
It's long.
Yeah.
concisely say is I'm moving that we allow the administration to post the position with the qualifications that are required,
Okay,
come up with the procedure by which we will interview and or appoint the individuals that are qualified.
okay, so the
By
declare,
February 9th.
By February 9th?
okay, so,
By February 9th.
Rick, I think you're kind of stuck with I'm looking at my calendar here for the work session.
right, well, I can make that first one.
I was going to say you might have to go to the 9th because I'm looking at my calendar.
Yeah.
That'd be a tight
that's fine.
squeeze.
So the school will post in the Gazette, I assume, that there is a position opening, and then the school will put what those requirements are. Okay. Okay. And was there a second part to your motion there, or was that pretty much it? After you get that, then what's the next step?
Then we'll go through the policy of selecting someone.
Our work session is February 8th.
Yes, so we need to get then.
Okay,
You might get super lucky if we can get everything done
Right?
and get somebody. I mean,
well, I'll still go.
last time we hired him on the spot. I mean, we pretty
Yeah.
much told him that night.
Actually, I think I may have misspoke. We were thinking about moving the 8th because the CTC meeting is on the 8th as well. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. So
Oh,
it's not the
yeah.
9th.
Yeah, we were
sorry.
talking about the 7th.
Okay.
Yeah.
So. I don't feel like a week is long enough to do, to put something in. I think you should almost give it until February 4th. That's
Yeah, that's not very
that's
long.
2 full weeks to let people get there. And then we could try to narrow it down look at applications on the 8th. And then I don't know if we would,
I think that's a good idea.
as a board, figure out if we're gonna do it at the board meeting or have a special meeting or, you know, whatever. At least it gives us a timeline.
Where will you be advertising for this?
School page, Gazette.
Yeah, all of our typical places, we can put it on our social media pages, we can put it on the website, we can stick it in the newspaper.
I think it should go in the Gazette.
Yeah, the Gazette, plus you have your OPS, your superintendent. I don't know what kind of stuff you guys talk about in that. Little superintendent meetings. Right?
Yeah. I don't
Because it's a
know.
big deal, being the Magnolia CTC, I mean, there's a lot of interest in that.
Yeah.
You know, and other superintendents might,
And the qualifications
No.
for it are fairly defined in here. So according to our policy, required qualifications.
Right, and that's right out of the
It's out of
statute.
statute.
That's right out of the
Yeah,
statute.
so therefore, I think it is important to have a, you know, a good array of outreach for it.
So just to repeat my motion, is to move to authorize the school administration to post the open board representative position for the MVCTC, including a description with the requisite qualifications, and to present the list of qualified candidates along with suggested interview or appointment procedures.
Would you want to put in there, Mr. Patrick, in accordance to our policy 0157?
That's fine.
It covers everything.
Should we put a deadline?
that's what I was kind of saying,
Yeah,
February 4th,
I
that's
think
2
February
weeks.
4th was that.
Because it'll take us a few days to get it in the paper, so it's not quite 2 weeks,
Okay,
maybe like 12 days.
all right.
I wouldn't put a deadline on it other than we know it has to be done, because if you don't get qualified candidates that are willing to do it, you know, like we're somehow delinquent.
Well, we have to have a cutoff date at some point, because otherwise then we won't have
Right.
candidates to interview.
And then you always say, you know, we reserve the right to not hire anybody if no qualified candidates apply. You always have that little
This,
disclaimer.
yeah, this authorizes them to tell us, to provide us a list of qualified candidates along with suggested interview and appointment procedures. But
Does everybody think February 4th is enough time? I mean, you get your phones out, if we get it in the paper in 2 days, that's Wednesday.
It's 10 days.
That's 7 business days plus a weekend. I figure if
Can I
somebody's.
just interrupt 1 second on the deadline? That's why I came in.
Yeah.
If you're looking to post it in the Gazette, their deadline is Friday at noon.
Oh, so
the
it's
following publication, which is a Wednesday.
Wow,
So
okay.
just keep that.
That makes a
in
big
mind.
difference. Yeah.
That's too complicated.
So it won't even go.
So
So
you're on
having-
here in the Gazette
Until February
Until the
2nd.
second. It'll show in
Wednesday.
the Gazette on February 2nd. If you make a dedeadline the 4th, then the Gazette's not
Yeah,
not the
it has to have
fastest
been
way to
on
get the
that
word
day.
out.
It's not very.
Thank goodness you walked into the room.
I just wanted to.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
That's
too. You said
not
that.
very much.
Well, you're definitely going to the meeting, Rick. Let's just
No,
talk
that's
about
fine.
that. Okay.
That's fine.
So if we put it in the Gazette on the 2nd, how much time do you want to give?
I mean, I've made my motion. If somebody wants to modify it by making a second or.
Can you
motion
email
to
that to
amend-
me, Simon?
I did email
Oh,
it to you.
I just got it, sorry. That was like.
I will
I'd still
second
give it at least
Simon's
2 weeks,
motion.
though. I'd still give it at least 2 weeks from the 2nd, so.
Okay, well, I'm-
16, thank you. Words are, yeah, I don't have a calendar.
as Simon pointed out, I'll second his motion and then somebody can make a motion to amend that motion to make those deadlines.
I'll just put out there for the good of the order. Working with Lisa, you know, in HR, I'm not sure deadlines are necessary for the motion to go through. I think we could look at, you know, the best way to, you know, to set it up. And then, you know, if Rick's gonna cover the first meeting anyways, then you've got
Legal room.
you got the month of February to go to the March meeting.
Okay.
I'll bounce that off the superintendent down at MVCTC, but I'm sure that'll work for them.
And you and I are going to the open house anyways, right? On
We're on the
Sunday.
invite. Yeah. I was cool that you got the memo, so that you haven't been sworn in yet. That's pretty cool, you got the memo.
I thought you forwarded it to me.
Well, and that may have been just here. I'll talk to them down there about, how we've got to use the month of February as our person.
So looking at the calendar, if it goes in the Gazette on the 2nd, with the suggestion of 2 weeks, that would be February 16th. And then our board meeting is on the 28th because President's Day is the 21st that month. So then we would have that stuff for 10 days before we could look at it at the board meeting. So I don't know if you want to do something sooner. Instead of waiting,
Yeah.
We can do it sooner. I mean, I
we
think,
have a special meeting.
I think the person probably has contacted you and contacted me.
Yeah.
I think they'll be very interested, so I don't think it's gonna take that long to get response back. But
We
I
have to
think
keep
we
it
do
posted
have to
for
open
so
it up
many
to the
days.
public,
Yeah,
so.
I think it's at least, you have to keep it posted for 14 days, but I could be wrong.
14.
Just for the order of the meeting here is the present motion is renewed and listed under 3C. If you wish to discuss or state an opinion on it, just has to be recognized so we can keep the order, unless it's a concise clarification or question. And anybody can move to amend it during that discussion if you wish. So long as you're not interrupting the person with the floor. Any further discussion? There was discussion to amend it, to add some dates. Is there a motion to amend it? And if you're still waiting for it to pop up on your computer, let me know.
So, no, I mean, I was looking to see how long it has to be posted. We haven't.
No, which is really weird.
So just so everybody can hear the questions. There was a question related to this. Mrs. Drum was wanting to know if there's a time requirement. There was a question as to whether there was, and I think Mrs. Dunaway indicated she did not believe there was. Mr. Stefanik, do you have any answers to that related to if there's a timing requirement or how it should be posted?
I'm not aware that very many processes have
Right.
a locked-in timing requirement. It's just whatever you put out there so that you feel like you can get a good pool of candidates.
Any other discussion concerning timing or anything else, or a motion to amend? No other discussion, I'll call for a vote.
Patry,
Yes,
Maines,
Yes,
Drum,
Yes.
Dunaway,
Yes.
Zakor.
Yes.
motion passes. And that brings us to citizens' comments. I don't have the sheet. Which one? All right, Mr. Watson?
My address is 335 West State Route 571. I'm Don Hudson. Since we are the education arm of the community, I would draw your attention to two important days that our country has on its calendar to celebrate each year. One is Martin Luther King Jr. holiday to celebrate the life and legacy of Mr. King. Our local paper, Tipp Gazette and Tipp City Magazine did not have any mention of this national holiday this year. So for our students, his legacy of love, peace, and his former speeches, I have a dream, how long, not long, must be shared with our students and citizens. The other national day of celebration is Sanctity of Life, signed in January 1984 by President Reagan, always to be on January 22nd each year. Again, I saw nothing in our local paper for Tipp City Magazine, I would challenge our school board to promote "Every life is a miraculous." In a small article from Tim Tebow, a retired professional football player and author of book Bronco and Friends. Every life is a miracle, the life of a preborn baby, the life of a child with special needs, and the life of any vulnerable person across the globe. My parents believe that my life was a miracle too. When my mother was pregnant with me, a doctor in Mindanao, an island in the Philippines, my parents served as missionaries, told them abortion was their only option. My mother's life was at risk, but my parents refused to end mine. On August 14th, 1987, I came into the world. My mother called me her miracle baby, as did the doctor who delivered me. So I would, again, challenge you as our school board to promote this to children in the future on January 22nd, 2023, and also for Martin Luther King Day of January 16th, 2023. I'm sure if Mr. King was with us here in Tipp City today, he would use "I Have a Dream" to tell us, for the students and teachers at Broadway, Nevenkopic, and Central, he would say how long, not long, to air condition these historical buildings for students and staff. If we would have done it in 2016 and again in 2019, it would already be done. With inflation at a 40-year high, it would have been saving a lot of money using our 2020 hindsight. And the other one was just an article, also the magazines from the Chamber of Commerce states for our school system, and quote, in the educational area, tradition of excellence. But the quote in the winter sports magazines says excellent is a tradition. This sounds to me, whichever one is correct, maybe we need this time to revisit our quotes since they're being changed around. I believe our quote should be "perfection is our goal in education." Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Watson.
Thank you.
Next is the president's comment. This will be the only president's comments I make. I'm only using them to talk about a procedural issue. There will no longer be president's comments on the agenda. I'll be doing my best to use Robert's Rules of Order to keep our meetings orderly and moving quickly and efficiently, and so that we can get on with the business of the day as provided in the agendas. I certainly am not an expert. I welcome any thoughts, questions about it. I'm sure I'm going to make plenty of mistakes. If you think I did, let me know. But that being said, I will be enforcing it more in a more formal fashion that's been previously observed. As such, if you wish to be recognized when we're discussing anything, please raise your hand. I'll write your name down and I'll make sure that I call on you. If you have a quick, concise point of clarification where you have a question you're wanting to have answered by the person presenting who has the floor, feel free to do that, but you cannot use that to share an opinion or a fact. If you have a clarifying remark, has to be recognized, and then you can make a clarifying remark or an opinion later on. If you have a procedural question, feel free to ask, which is concise.
Can I make a point of appeal to the president's current ruling?
I don't think I've ruled on anything, but if you wish to.
Have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Point of appeal is before the board. I'm not sure what's being appealed. There hasn't been a ruling. But
What I'd like to appeal is your unilateral decision to decide that the strict formal sense of Robert rules will be enforced, when in fact it hasn't been for years, decades, I would say, comfortably. There's been informal process of Robert's rules for this board for decades, and it serves a good purpose, just as it does over at City Council, their informal use of Robert's rules, which is typically informal process recommended for boards, small boards, 12 and under, recognizing the fact that very formal process of Robert rules is often more time consuming and unnecessary for small boards. So therefore, the other point part of this appeal is that the president or the chairperson does not does not make the rules unilaterally. That is a board discussion, decision, and if necessary, a board vote. So that was improper to declare such a procedure was going to take place without the full boards, the board members here being involved in that process.
I'm not making unilaterally or a rule or anything. I'm enforcing our own rules and bylaws. If you wish to change that policy, feel free. But there's an appeal as to our use of Robert's Rules of Order, which is required by our bylaws. So, any other discussion or any? If not, let's just take it to a vote.
Yeah, my discussion would be, at the last meeting, it wasn't enforced equally or fairly. So, if we're gonna do something, there has to be equity. If one person has to raise their hand, everybody has to raise their hand. We're not gonna be picking and choosing who raises their hand and who doesn't. That leads towards discrimination, and that doesn't seem right. If somebody wants to speak, they can speak. I think that everybody should be treated as an adult. And if it becomes a situation where people are talking over one another, well, then that would be for the chair to say point of order and handle that situation. Hopefully that's not going to happen. Yeah, it could happen. It might happen, but then it would be handled appropriately by either Mr. Maines or Mr. Stefanik or Mr. Patrick. But if it's going to be enforced, it has to be enforced equally and fairly, not picking and choosing who has to raise their hand and who doesn't. That's just doesn't seem appropriate.
I think you could go further in saying if you're going to adopt a formal implementation of Robert's rules, then you either have to clarify what parts of that, or it's going to be formalized throughout the entire process. I don't think we want to go to a true formalized process, because it will be very time consuming. And maybe, I can't speak with any knowledge, but I wonder why this Tipp City Council, who operates very effectively, are not using a strict formalized Robert's Rule process. They don't raise their hand either when they want to speak.
Anybody else wants to be recognized to talk about this?
I will recognize.
Go ahead, Mr. Maines.
I received your letter.
Thank you.
And, but I would just say that as a new board member, okay, and I know you were referring to me, I didn't raise my hand a couple of times.
Oh, it's okay. I don't expect you to. I don't expect you to.
But, again, as a new board member, I'm getting used to all the procedures. So I'm learning, just like you and you may be learning too. Simon's an attorney, he's more versed in those kinds of things than I am by any means. You want to ask me a tax question, go ahead. But, I just want us all to have a good time over at these board meetings, and I saw some of the arguing that went on before I was even on board, okay? And I saw some of it at the, in the work study sessions. I just want us all to settle down. Let's have a good time. Let's get some things done for our kids. The kids are number one. And we need our good teachers. So much criticism is directed, not only it's directed at teachers, it's directed at principals, at superintendents, at board members. And some of the decisions that have been made lately, the public doesn't necessarily know how it operates either. I mean, they think we make a lot of decisions. We don't. A lot of them's administrative. We need to be a board. We need to unite. We need to come together. And let's do our good for the community. Let's put a smile on our face. Let's do something positive instead of criticizing each other. Let's move on. there's some good stuff coming up in this agenda. I can't wait to get to it. You know, on some of these courses and, you know, I was so impressed when I looked through the courses of study, and I saw, and I'm probably dating myself. Yes, make fun of me because I'm almost 70 if you want. But, you know, when I saw what those middle schoolers were doing, you know, and I'm probably jumping ahead of myself because I wanted to, when we got to that point, talk about it. When I saw what those middle schoolers were doing, I said, holy cow, I didn't do that till I was in high school. And then I saw the high school courses and I thought, I want to go back to high school. I didn't do those things till I was in college. And there's so many good courses. Let's get back to concentrating on that stuff instead of this arguing all the time. That's the extent of what I've got to say. I get a little emotional over it.
Mrs. Drummond, do you have anything?
I just think as long as we keep it civil, it doesn't have to be super rigid, but just civil is, I think, the most important thing that we can focus on. Let's be civil.
So we had 2 years of very contentious meetings that were
Yes.
unorganized, that included a lot of personal discussions where people were directing discussions at each other. And while I understand that informal applications of Robert's rules is often, you know, observed by small organizations, that's not necessarily provided for in our dynamic. I think that we need to have a more formal application of the rules where people are asking to be recognized so that we're not interrupting each other constantly, where people aren't taking the floor from each other and addressing each other directly versus the items at hand. And that is what our rules provide for. And there is really nothing to appeal because I have not made a ruling. I'm just letting people know that I will be applying our rules. And so if you wish to discuss a subject item, and I let everybody talk because I don't want to stifle anybody's ability to talk, I just want to organize it in a way that's going to be effective to continue have a good order in our meetings to be more efficient. And so there's really nothing to appeal because I have not made a ruling. I'm just letting you know I'm going to be applying these, and that if you wish to speak, you have to ask to be recognized, or it has to be within one of the exceptions where you can interrupt a speaker under Robert's rules.
May I speak one more time?
Please.
I agree with most of what you say. I understand what you're trying to do. And if I screw up, please forgive me. Yeah, I will probably screw up at times. And don't hold it against me. I'm just human.
And just to clarify, my first statement was, I'm not an expert on the rules. I'm going to make mistakes. We're all going to make mistakes. I'm going to give everybody as much grace as I possibly can, but I'm going to try to keep us in order, and I will try to be as fair and equal with everybody. I mean, this early part of the meeting, I think I showed that, you know, I tried to only intervene when things were starting to get off the subject topic, and I didn't want to interrupt anybody until we had the opportunity for me to say, look, I'm going to be enforcing this. If you wish to speak, you have to be recognized. Anybody else wish to discuss?
Yes, I do.
Ms. Zakor.
Again, the chairperson, or as we call the president, is not the person in charge of our meetings. The board, under parliamentary procedure and Robert's rules, the board is in charge of the meetings. The president runs the meetings. We've had no vote or discussion, and I take exception to your framing that you're not ruling anything, because again, history is there, so you can't refute it. And there has not been, the last 2 years or the years prior to the last 2 years, a requirement to raise hands and talk. I believe that the board should have a discussion on this and a vote as to whether or not we're going to go to this very formalized process that you would like to see happen, Mr. Patrick. Thank you.
All right. Moving on to treasurer's report.
I'm sorry,
What are you appealing? I have not made a ruling, Ann.
you have made a ruling. You said you're going to enforce Robert's rules where we have to raise our hand. That's a ruling because it is not what we have traditionally done for decades.
It's in our bylaws. So just everybody knows here, Parliamentary procedure is in our bylaws. That is what we're supposed to follow.
I think it's
so-
the hand raising.
And so Robert's Rules of Orders requires that you be recognized as the presiding officer before you speak on a motion. You, just because the meetings have been running out of order and completely contravention to Robert's Rules under the premise that it was under the relaxed application is not the same as having meetings run without any order and without even any observation of Robert's Rules. And so if you wish to appeal my enforcing Robert's Rules of Order, including asking people to be recognized, I will go ahead and call a vote on that. So if I understand it correctly, you're appealing my indication that people can only speak when they're recognized during a motion or as otherwise provided under Robert's Rules of Order. Is that your appeal?
My appeal is that I say we stick with tradition, what has traditionally worked for this small board with Robert's Rules. If you read Robert's Rules, you will discover that there is a chapter in there for the informal process of Robert's Rules, and that in fact it is recommended for small functioning boards of 12 members or less.
I have read Robert's Rules. I got it right here. And so
I'll find it for you. I didn't.
I don't need you to find it. I've already read that.
Okay, so
So
then you're aware
I
of
will
the
call a vote.
informal process, Mr. Patrick.
I am, and I've
Okay,
acknowledged it.
So
I
that is
call a vote.
also a part, well, I'm not going to mislead the public. That is also a part of Robert's Rules. the
Point of order,
informal.
you cannot imply that I'm misleading the public. That's not an appropriate statement. I call the vote on the appeal.
Would you reframe it, please, so we know what we're voting on?
You're the one appealing, you reframe it.
I'm asking that this be placed before the board as a whole as to whether or not we want to adopt a formal process of Robert's Rules or stay with the informal process of Robert's Rules as it pertains to hand raising on every single discussion or input.
May I speak?
Go ahead, Mr. Raines, why not?
I think we should see if Melanie, do you know what I mean? Let her catch up and make sure, just for, she's had to
Go ahead,
like
Mr.
change it
Raines.
twice.
You got
I
it.
don't mind raising my hand. I think it's kind of a courtesy. So that's all I've got to say.
I didn't try to change the agenda at all.
Okay.
At first, I didn't know we were. So Mrs. Zakor, you have a motion? Did you want to summarize your motion and?
Kind of forget what I said. I think it's to the point whether or not the board wants to continue with the informal process, which has been traditionally how it's been done with Robert's Rules in terms of parliamentary procedure, or adopt a formal process with Robert's
It
Rules.
has to be a yes, no. We can't vote on something if it's an either or. Do you know what I mean? You have to frame it as either people are voting yes or they're voting no. You framed it as an either or.
So approval of the informal process of Robert's Rules.
Continue with, okay, then I guess you
As it's
frame it.
been.
You see what I'm saying? As it's been, yes.
Right. There you go.
Is there any way we could just, I would say something, is there any way we can just try it for a little bit and see how it works?
Well, we're gonna vote yes or no in a minute, so.
Okay. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand. Let's just try to be adults.
But the formal,
Just try to be
I
adults.
understand,
That's what I'm
but the
saying.
formal process is the formal
Right,
process
Yes.
with everything.
yeah.
Yes.
So we're not, it doesn't say.
You
in the
can't
book,
pick or choose. We're either doing
Exactly.
strict
Are
parliamentary.
you ready,
or we're not.
Melanie?
So.
You want to read it one final time?
Approval of the informal process of Robert's Rules as it has been to the present date.
Is there a second?
Is that right, Ann? I second.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't think you heard. Go ahead.
Approval of the informal process of Robert's Rules as it has been to the present date.
Has it just been tradition? Okay.
That makes sense for
Yes.
everybody. And they have a first by Ian Zakor and a second by
Mrs. Dunaway.
Zakor,
Yes.
Dunaway.
Yes,
Drum,
No,
Maines,
No,
and Patrick.
No,
so we will be formal.
Correct.
treasurer's report, Mrs. Fox.
So I'm reporting on the month of December 2021. Wrapping up the year, getting the W-2s tomorrow. So and the 1099s for our staff. So that's one big thing. We're going to get those out. Regarding any of the revenues and expenditures for the month. December wrapped up pretty similar to most other Decembers. Looks like last year we did have a large workers' comp dividend, which I don't believe that we received that this year. I'm sure that could somewhat be COVID related and the number of workers out there. So we didn't receive that in the other operating revenue that I noticed was quite large last December at this time. Expenditures were pretty much in line. However, it seemed this December we had some more checks go out for some capital expenditures, which I think could be just the result of a lot of the repairs we had in the last couple months in the district, which could be food service. I know we've talked in some of our previous meetings, but when it comes down the checks actually paid, then I can report on those. So it seems like capital expenditures were a little higher this year than the past couple Decembers, I noticed. And revenues about the same. I do predict big changes coming for January because they've changed the funding formula, but we'll talk more about that on the next board meeting. The reports may start to look just a little different, and we'll start looking at those trends and how those are going to be played out for future months. Regarding healthcare, it was a pretty decent month. Nothing, claims were ticked up a tiny bit for the month, but nothing too extravagant. And overall, December was a good month in the treasurer's office. No big hot topics or concerns, which is always a good thing for my office. So I guess if there's no questions regarding the actual calendar year, the month of December, just looking for a motion of approval for the board report for December.
I'll move that we approve.
Ray's move. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, Mrs. Drum. Any further discussion? Hearing no discussion, Mrs. Fox, if you could call the vote, please.
Maines,
Yes.
Drum,
Yes.
Dunaway,
Abstain?
Patrick,
Abstain.
and Zakor.
Abstain.
I think the motion passes on that.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna,
Yes.
Ms. Fox, just so you know that the board docs may put that in as a
Yeah,
fail
that'll
because you
be-
don't get to the number 3, but that's just a program error.
You're still working through that system, Mrs. Fox, but when you're ready, 6B on appropriation amendments.
Okay. So we haven't had the appropriation amendments in a couple months. The budget was just kind of steady. I haven't had to change any particular funds that we will either change revenues or expenditures till this month. Slight adjustment. We are looking at in the principals fund. So we have the 018 account. We are looking at some updates to desks and furniture. We are looking at that for the middle school. That is an item there listed. And then we have federal grants, the special education grant that we have is the American Rescue Plan. So this is federal grant dollars as approved us for a little bit more revenue And so I have budgeted, we get so much money for, even though we don't have preschool, we have children that go through the preschool system that are disabled. So we're gonna get some funding for that group of kids, and then we'll have the other amount will be also for special education expenditures. So I have that listed. And the ESSER is the other one, 507. Same with that one. ESSER funds are also federal funds for, as pretty much a result of COVID. And targeting learning loss, as well as air quality and the conditions of your buildings. And so the ESSER, we just looked at budgeting a little more for our maintenance department and to cover some of the expenditures we're going to complete this year regarding drinking fountains, air quality. We've got a couple of jobs in the hopper. So we wanted to make sure we did budget for those expenses. And I believe that's all I have on here for the adjustments to the appropriations. Anybody has any questions?
Is there a motion to approve the appropriation amendments?
I have a question. Can you explain the $25,000 estimate desk furniture upgrade at the middle school office? That seems like a decent amount of money.
Right now, we're just getting some quotes and some information, some design ideas to change the stations in the office as well as the front counter. I'm understanding some of that's been in there for quite some time. Could be 20 or more years, some of the pieces in there. So they're looking to update that. And unfortunately, things are not as cheap as what we were hoping. So we're trying to narrow it down as far as the design and the quality and then any shelving. So Kim Hagan and our maintenance staff are working on some logistics of that. Once we have final information, we'll probably come back to the board, and because I'm going to have to do a requisition, but we're just trying to fine tune the improvements in that office, but not going too extravagant, and then also making it something that's going to last a long time, you know, and utilize the space appropriately. So that was just not budgeted for at the beginning of the year. And I know we're working diligently trying to get that to, fit for those that use the space and the budget. And we're working with Friends Office Supply, which is through the EPC, and they're, one of the, they try to bid and look for the best vendor that can provide this. So right now we're just kind of in the process of fine tuning that. So.
Well, for me personally, just being a good steward of the community's, finances, I have a hard time approving $25,000 of furniture at the middle school without knowing how much the community has spent on the urinals. So, Mr. Stefanik, I would like to ask, how has the district been addressing the Tipp Middle School bathroom situation?
That is a good question. I heard about some bathroom discipline issues that were being addressed, but I've not received a report recently about actually damage to toilet fixtures. I haven't had that. So if Ms. Hagan was dealing with that in the maintenance department, I don't have a report on that.
Well, I mean, it's disheartening for me to have to hear parents, say, my kid can't use the bathroom at the middle school because the toilets are broken or the urinals are always broken. So do you have any idea how many broken toilets or how many broken urinals we've had over the September, October, November, the first, part of the school year?
I don't get reports on that generally, and so.
So Mrs. Voorhees doesn't report any of that to you?
she wouldn't. I think the
Okay.
report would come from the maintenance department if they thought something extreme was occurring.
Okay, because I heard it was 17 urinals. We've had to completely replace 17 urinals. So Melanie, what is like what's a dollar amount that's kind of related to 17 urinals? And then how much time is our take? Because my biggest concern is right now, our cleaning staff, with COVID, all the extra cleaning that we have to do, we just shut down school because people are out with Omicron and the positive at-home tests. So the last thing we want to do is burden our custodians when we're very lucky that we have a very awesome crew. They've been here a long time. They work very hard. They shouldn't have to come in and deal with 17 urinals over a course of 3 months.
I wish I knew more information. We're gonna have to get some details regarding behaviors. I don't know.
Right, because do we put a person in the bathroom? Does a teacher stand outside? And then, how long has it been going on? I don't know. But 17 urinals, to me, that seems like a situation that should have been dealt with somewhere along the line, somehow, some way. And so then to approve $25,000 of office furniture at a building where our custodians had to deal with toilets and 17 urinals, that's just an unacceptable ask.
Recognized.
Mrs. Secor.
Yes, I'd like to ask the president when he plans to start enforcing the formalized adopted Roberts rules, because it just was not implemented here.
If I enforce something to your liking, Mrs. Secor, please forgive me. Do you
Not
have
to my
anything to
liking.
say?
It is absolutely not to my
Do
liking.
you have anything to say about the current discussion topic at hand?
My point of order is about you want to enforce formal Roberts rules, then enforce them, please.
Mrs. Dunaway had a question to Mrs. Fox, the treasurer. That question turned into an opinion. Anybody of the body can say point of order. And so your point of order is well taken. Mrs. Dunaway, do you wish to be recognized to present an opinion?
Did I have an opinion? I just wanted information.
There's a bit of an opinion in there. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. What I really want is a report. I want to know how much time we're spending, the cost to our taxpayers on the urinals, the bathrooms, how long it's been. I want a report. Before I approve $25,000 in furniture, I want to know how much the taxpayers have already spent on 17 urinals and 2 toilets.
I wanna
Yeah,
add one
sure.
thing. So just the funding source.
Point of order.
I apologize.
The treasurer needs to be recognized by the.
May I speak, please?
Go ahead, Mrs. Fox.
Okay. The general fund would typically be responsible for maintaining structure. Obviously, that's the big one, taxpayer dollars. And we have, when I say 018 account, which is a principal's account, the source of the revenues in this account have been, and this could go back 20, 30 years. I don't know how long it's accumulated. It's
Yeah, I know, but I'm very well.
So you
Point of
know,
order, Mrs. Fox.
principals, basically revenue from fundraisers, donations, school pictures, commissions. Trying to think what other sources in the principal's account. And then, of course, those are not tax dollars. So I just want to make sure people understand. So when the principal and administrators decide it's a different source of funding versus the taxpayer dollars. And it's something that they kind of watch the needs in their building and can use that source of funds for specific things that may really feel as a need to the principal, to the administrators. So it can be field trips. It could be any type of extra. So that's the source of the 25,000, which there again is an estimate. I don't have a final bill, but the source of those dollars are from the fundraisers and so forth, donations, whatever. So that's just a different way to look at it. I just want to explain that. I mean, it's still our community's money
Right.
regardless. Just comes from different versus the property taxes. So, but you know, unfortunately, you know, had the middle school maybe looked at this a year ago or longer, maybe it would have been a lot less. You know, we are looking at some shelving, some different things, you know, not just the couple of L-shaped units or whatever. So just trying to get some ideas.
Any other discussion? Mr. Stefani?
Yeah, I just like to put out there, you know, typically, and this is not a sarcastic comment, this is actually fact. Aren't too many times when a superintendent, unless there's something extreme going on, that a superintendent would even get a bathroom type report that stays in the maintenance department and is handled by the maintenance department and the business operations coordinator. But if somebody shares a concern with a board member, board member's role is to get that concern to the superintendent so we can get it to the building where the concern is. Leaving it possibly a month until the next meeting to present it wastes a lot of time and giving us a chance to address it. And so as soon as you get a concern, either send that person to me, you know, to address their concern, or route the concern if folks for some reason or another need anonymity, route the concern to me, and I will go to the specific building and address you know, whatever needs to be addressed in that area. So
Mrs. Dunaway?
So as soon as I did hear that, I went right to Melanie because I really did not think that was true. I mean, how could 17 urinals be? That's a lot. 2, 3, 5, 10, a dozen, 17. That's pretty over the top by any standard. So I did send Melanie an email, and I was just reaching out. I said, Melanie, please tell me that we are not having urinal issues. And so she did let me know that it was 17 urinals. So,
Yeah, I forwarded it to Kim.
Yeah.
And because I had no clue, I'd never heard of the situation.
right.
So maybe we'll follow up with Kim to find out if she knows said student. You know, I don't really know any of the history of it. So
I'm
well,
sorry.
the other
I have
thing
a-
too is just that, you know, what needs to be verified is whether or not 17 urinals are breaking or 17 urinals are being broken. That's you know, a situation too. I can imagine some of the urinals in the middle school may be relatively old. So there might be some, you know, a breakdown of materials. But if it's actually discipline based and there's, you know, I'll put the word vandalism, you know, in there and breakage of, you know, sinks, toilets, you know, whatever, as something to do, then that needs to be addressed, you know, significantly as well, in a significant manner.
Mrs. Dunaway?
Yeah, that would be, because, you know, of course, with new administrators, I know that that's part of your role, right? Mentoring. And so maybe this would be a good time to kind of touch base and maybe just put a little thing in the Friday board update, a little blurb, if, you know, what's going on, if it's true, and I don't know. But according to Melanie, it was 17. That kind of concerned me. So that's why I brought it up.
Are you done with stuff?
Yeah, sure.
I think I just want to, my thoughts on this is that I think what Mr. Stefanik is indicating, he wasn't brought into this discussion until today. And that would have been useful information for him to have before this meeting, and I agree.
I do apologize for that.
And so it would seem to me that the superintendent would be included in that discussion, and then so would the rest of the board before tonight, but apparently not. So is there any other discussion concerning the appropriations before us? Any other comments or discussions? Having no further discussion, I call for a vote, Mrs. Fox.
did I have a motion? I apologize, I don't recall. A motion for the approval.
I guess I will move.
I didn't ask.
I will make the motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
First, Mr. Patry, second, Mrs. Zakor. Any further discussion? Go ahead, Mrs. Secor.
My discussion point would be, I believe we should have had the first and second before the discussion.
That's correct.
So we're a little bit behind the cart.
For future Mrs. Fox, it's okay for you to introduce a subject item with 1 or 2 sentences, but after that, we should ask for the vote before we go into discussion.
And on the treasurer's report, do
On-
I ask for, or is that an
On
appropriate?
any motion before this board, before discussion occurs, there either needs to be a motion to open up the floor to discussion, which is unusual, or there needs to be a motion for the pending motion or the motion that's before the board on the agenda. And so, thank you, Mrs. Secor, for helping us along with the Roberts rules. Is there any further discussion on the appropriations amendments? Having none, call for the vote.
Patry,
Yes.
Zakor,
Yes.
Drum,
Yes.
Dunaway,
No.
and Maines.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Mrs. Fox, if you could introduce solely the purchase order certification then and now for fiscal year 22 for December 2021.
Point of order. It's on the agenda. I believe that's the president's role to read that and put it to a first and second and then discussion.
I'm asking the treasurer to introduce it, and that's perfectly fine. It's the treasurer's report. So, Mrs. Fox, if you could introduce the approval of the ROSC 5705.41 purchase order certification then and now fiscal year 22 for December 2021.
So the then and now certificate is simply stating, we try not to have these, so I know we've been doing our best, but sometimes it happens. We do a requisition with a date. We approve that. This particular one, Retzel and Andrus, board attorney. We open a purchase order typically at the beginning of the school year. If we utilize those funds and expense those that have been encumbered, then we typically should follow up with an additional purchase order. Knowing one of them's filled possibly, then we need to have a new one. And this one just a few days lapsed where we got a bill and it was a little larger than the encumbered amount. So we followed it with an additional purchase order. So we have a few days. However, with it being over the $3,000 mark, we do have to present that to the board to make you aware. However, I'm pretty much stating on the purchase order, the funds were available at the time of the expenditure, but the purchase order fell into place a few days later.
Is there a motion to approve to which we need to go into further discussion?
Point of order. I believe, Mr. Patry, that a designated agenda item is read and then the first and second motion is stated and then the discussion follows that.
That's how we used to do it.
All right.
I believe that's Robert's rule.
So there's a motion, right? I'm entertaining motions. If you wish to make the motion, feel free. I'll make the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion second. Is there any discussion concerning the approval of the ORC 5705.41 purchase order certification then and now fiscal year 22 for December 2021 as introduced by Mrs. Fox? Hearing no discussion, call for a vote, Mrs. Fox.
Patry,
Yes.
Drum,
Yes.
Dunaway,
Yes.
Maines,
Yes.
and Zakor.
Yes.
Next item up on our agenda is an update on public records requests.
And this is just information, so we're just kind of sharing. We had month of December, we had a few public records we were working on. It was a slower month. I know Mark had some time fit in still from some things that were in the hopper. Might have been from the end of November. We're trying to wrap up one. But anyway, I have a few. I've updated the spreadsheet. I'm hoping that that's all current as well. So this just pretty much reports on December. Here again, Mark and I had some time, and I think Mr. Bush here didn't have much on that December month for technology purposes, but we did get off of the legal invoice. We just had a small amount of redaction and a few questions that we presented to the attorney for public records, but wasn't very.
Thank you, Mrs. Fox. Is there a motion to open this up to discussion? Hearing no motion being made, we move on to old business. Is there any old business before the board? All right,
Yes, if I may.
Mrs. Zakor.
Again, I want to go back to what we are doing with Robert's rules and if we're going to do it consistent or not.
All right, point of order, are you making a motion or are you starting to discuss without a motion?
Well, there's no motion here because nothing is up for approval or to be voted on. It is an old discussion. You recognized me for the floor, and so now I'm discussing.
I recognize you to make a motion. Or do you want to open up the floor to discussion on a specific topic item?
It's under old business.
So go make a motion and identify the subject matter to which you wish to discuss, to open up the floor for discussion, or make a motion related to what you're trying to bring up in old business.
Well, I think if I'm going to motion, it would be that with the board voting for a strict adherence to formalized Robert rules, that this board needs training in order to comply with that.
So point of clarification on your motion. So Mrs. Corr, is your motion before the board that you believe that we need board training so we can better observe Robert's Rules of Order?
Not necessarily better observe, but so that we can observe a formal Robert Rules of Order.
So if you could articulate that motion for Mrs. Fox.
Okay, just give me 1 second so I can get in the right place here. Okay, this is the core.
You don't need to put this in the motion. I'm not convinced that we even need to motion for this. Since it's under old business, it's not being put to a vote. But Mr. Patry insists that it be put to a vote. So therefore, I'm going to motion that since the board approved the formal Robert's Rules process, that the board receive training in Robert's Rules process in order to implement that process.
Point of clarification, I did not say you needed a motion. I said you need to either move to open up the discussion or make a motion to open up discussion on the motion. And so, but you've made a motion, and is there a
At your
second?
request, I felt there was no motion necessary, but
Is there a second to Mrs. Zakor's motion?
I'm super confused.
exactly,
I forgot to raise my hand.
exactly.
Mrs. Zakor has moved to initiate board training so that we can follow Robert's Rules of Order. That's not necessarily a perfect quote, but that's the
Formal Robert's Rules.
former Robert's Rules of Order. And so I'm asking if there's a second to that motion. Mrs. Dunaway, are you seconding?
No, I'm just super confused. I think I'm losing my mind.
What's your question?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. I don't know what we're voting on. I don't know what we're talking about. Can you, I thought old business was a place to discuss old business, but now we're voting on something I'm sorry, but can you read to me what we're supposed to be voting on? Because I
So-
don't know.
So just so I
She has it right there.
here's some presiding over privilege here, presiding officer privilege is that the old business agenda is to talk about old business, but you can't talk about old business or a subject matter without opening up the floor for discussion or having a motion related to old business. And so my question to Mrs. Zakor is just whether she wished to move to open up the floor to discuss a certain item, or if she wished to make a motion related to a certain item. Mrs. Zakor, after that discussion, opted to make a motion. That motion is now on the floor. And then now the proper procedure is whether there's either a second on that motion or it fails, and then we move on. So the motion that's before this board is something along the lines, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mrs. Fox, to begin board training, to initiate board training so that we can follow formal application of Robert's Rules of Order. Is there a second?
I'll second. I just,
Now there having been a second, is there any discussion concerning this? Mrs. Dunaway.
I'm confused, Mrs. Zakor. I'm trying to understand. You think we need, as a board, formal training? Because there is a difference between Robert's rules and strict parliamentary. I mean, it's a pretty big difference. So I'm trying to just understand what you're trying to do or say or accomplish. I'm just a little confused on what's going on right now.
Okay. Yeah, answer, Mr. Patrick.
Mrs. Zakor, go ahead.
It was positioned at the beginning that you wanted to implement a formal process of Robert's rules. I was against that, noting that oftentimes formal parliamentary procedure, Robert's rules, can be more time consuming than not. It was put to a vote and the formal process was majority ruled. Point of order just occurred when I made the motion and it was seconded, and under the formal process of Robert's rules, the person who makes the first motion should be the person who speaks first. Mr. Patry, as president, you did not acknowledge that. You did not run your meeting for that.
That's correct. I made a mistake, and you were at that time to interrupt the speaker as well as call out a point of order, and you obviously knew it. You could have done that. Thank you for bringing it to our attention.
You're welcome, and I tried not to because this is what's going to happen. It's going to be stop, start, stop, start, stop, start. And then if you want to go to a formal process of Robert's rules and be consistent with it, then my comment was that there needs to be a formal training for that process. Otherwise, I think you are in violation of parliamentary process by recognizing a formal process and picking and choosing the moments for that formality and ignoring the other moments, which is also why I tend to believe, I'm not sure, but logic would tell me, that's why even in the handbook of Robert's rules, the informal process is oftentimes advised for small assemblies of 12 or less.
Anything else, Mrs. Core?
No.
Anything else, Mrs. Dunaway?
No, I was just trying to get caught up.
Any other discussion? Call for a vote.
Zakor,
Would you please reread the motion?
approval. Okay, I have approval since the board approved the formal Robert's Rules of Order. Now we discuss and initiate the board receive training.
On formal Robert's rules.
I'm going to proceed with the vote. I have those two. Zakor,
Yes.
Dunaway,
No.
Drum,
No.
Maines,
No.
and Patrick.
No. Moving on to new business consent agenda items. Entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Moved by Mrs. Dunaway. Is there a second?
Second.
Mrs. Zakor, call for a vote.
Consent agenda. I apologize. Who motioned?
Dunaway, Zakor. Motion second.
Dunaway,
Yes.
Zakor,
Yes.
Drum,
Yes.
Maines,
Yes,
and Patrick.
Yes. Motion passes. Next item of business under new business is curriculum discussion. I will move to open up discussion to the curriculum discussion as stated on the agenda. Is there a second?
I will second.
Is there any, well, I guess that opens up the floor for discussion. Well, is there any discussion on the discussion? Having none, call for the vote on opening up the floor for discussion as presented by Don Scott, Ken Barnes, Diane Voorhees, and Pam Staub.
So I don't have a place to put any action under this item. I just have it listed as a discussion
You
item.
just call the vote. You can change it later on or as people are presenting.
And is there a motion?
I
Point
move,
of order, I don't believe that you need to call for a motion for a curriculum discussion. That was approved at the
I
beginning
would
of the
agree with
meeting
that.
for the board agenda.
I don't know the answer to
That's
that.
true.
I've previously looked up whether you need to open up the floor to discuss it. I'm good without it.
We'll have to
Go-
do that
let's
for
go ahead and
every
proceed.
single
We'll
item.
figure that out.
We'll have to do that for
I
every
mean,
single
it's-
item.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Dawn Scott. I'm the Director of Curriculum and Instruction. Nice to meet the new board members. And I'd like to discuss the new course proposals and changes to our programs of study specifically for next school year at the middle school and high school levels. We have met the last several months, teachers, counselors, and administrators in order to make positive changes for our students and enrich their opportunities for next year. Essentially, we've removed courses that students were having low enrollment numbers in, so we've removed those courses from the program of studies. We've combined courses with overlapping content into singular courses to make it more efficient for our students and staff members. We've also added electives based on student interest, and we've increased the level of rigor by adding 2 new AP courses, AP Music Theory and AP Calculus BC for next year. We've also added a STEAM course for our 6th graders in the middle school curriculum. It will be part of the 6th grade quarterly rotation, STEAM, science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics. So it would be a new interdisciplinary course with a project-based focus. So we're very excited about that. I'd also like to highlight our additions in the area of college and career readiness, which is a focus for Tipp City schools as well as the state of Ohio. In lieu of the college and career readiness course that we currently do have in our business tech department, we would like to add a new graduation requirement for our Tipp City students. The new course is titled Career Exploration, and it would be available for our freshmen or sophomores. In this course, students would earn the Ohio Means Jobs State Seal. So starting next year with the class of 2023, students need to earn at least 1 state seal or 2 state seals and 1 locally determined seal. So 2 total seals. In this course, all of our Tipp City students would earn this seal, and this course focuses on skills that students need for their future, including responsibility, developing work ethic, professionalism, learning to write resumes. Also in this course, we would have counselors meet with students and to discuss the newly required graduation success plans. So students would be able to sit down with their counselors and make their 4-year high school plan geared to their specific pathway. So that's one of the things Ohio is really moving towards, our personalized pathways for our students. So no matter what their future entails, students would be given guidance in this class and with counselors in order to develop their best four-year plan for their future opportunity that matches their interest and their dreams. Oh, also in that course, counselors, very important, they would help freshmen starting early on utilize our Navient system. So our Navient system is one that we use for our career interest surveys and for college applications. So it would get our freshmen early on into that system, help them navigate the system that becomes so important later on when they're upperclassmen. As part of our college and career readiness plan, we are also adding a couple of courses at the middle school level. One will be a life skills class. That would be an elective offering for our sixth graders to get them started early in thinking about their personality interest and career interest surveys they would take in that course. And we're also adding a family consumer science course to an 8th grade quarterly rotation. We have family and consumer sciences, but it would be a requirement as part of our quarterly rotation with an emphasis in career exploration and financial literacy. So that's all part of this college and career readiness plan that our district is looking at. It really helps students build confidence and gain a more specific vision and the courses that they do need in order, like I said, to meet their future goals. And all of these courses will work together to do that. That's the overview. I know I attached the new course proposals with brief descriptions and rationales. That's kind of the high level overview, but I'd love to answer any questions that you have. I also have Dan Barnes, our distinguished high school principal here, and Pam Staub is our department chair in the business tech department, and she is here to answer any questions you may have in that department specifically. Yes, may I be recognized to chat? Thank you so much. Okay, so I just have a question. Okay. So this is long-term thinking, the teacher inside of me. So those kids who are undecided going into high school, is there going to be like a counselor that specifically works with those students to kind of figure out a path as they? Okay. Yep. Awesome. It's a state requirement, but it's also best practice. So starting freshman year, a student will make a graduation success plan with their counselors. Our counselors meet with students by alphabet, and then they have the same counselor all 4 years. So this course would help launch that. Students would still meet every year with their counselors to discuss their plans.
Any other questions?
Thank you. And then, yes, sorry, I've got. Will there be any how many new teachers are we looking to add with all of these new 0? Fantastic. Okay, that's all I needed. Thank you.
May I comment? I was so excited when I read through all these, both the middle school and the high school application. So can adults sign up for something? There are some really cool courses in here.
Yes, thank
So
you.
I just want to say thank you. I mean, this is awesome.
We have an excellent staff.
Yes.
Excellent
Yes,
staff.
you do. I'm excited.
Thank you.
I didn't see anything on Robert's Rules of Order in here.
Yeah.
I taught a little bit of Robert's Rules of Order in AP Government. So when you were all talking about that, I briefly remember talking about that. Am I
Have a facilitator.
allowed to speak, Mr. Munch? I'm sorry.
Please go ahead.
I'm so sorry. We tried so hard. So many people worked on this program of studies for many weeks and trying to update our course descriptions. So there is one mistake. I know that we are scheduled to vote and scheduling starts soon. Design thinking. Design thinking is not a new course. We've had it. Mr. Boniface is the teacher of design thinking at the middle school. It is going to be part. It is going to be part of our 8th grade quarterly rotation. I'm so sorry, it is omitted. We went through so many different versions, so I wanted you to see the course description. The only thing we would do is add that course description into the program of studies that you see. So it is in one of my versions. I was able to, I just saw it when we started the meeting. So I do apologize, but that was design thinking. It's part of the 8th grade quarterly rotation.
Okay.
Really focused on problem-based learning, collaboration, teamwork, and really figuring out real world applications to problems. So they can either design a product or develop a process in order to meet a real life problem. So it's a great class.
This Dunaway.
On the design thinking, I know that class, when it first started, it started off, I mean, I think with 8 kids, and it kept growing and growing and growing. Is this offered 2 period? I mean, I'm sure the enrollment is still, is it still trending that it's gone up? And
It's
then
very robust.
do you have to have more than 1 period of it? Because kids may
Well,
not get into this class.
All 8th graders, it will actually be for all 8th graders.
Okay.
So before it was an elective offering,
Right.
which has continued to grow.
Okay.
So all 8th graders will take it. It'll be part of their quarterly rotation.
Perfect.
Yes,
Okay,
so
good.
Mrs. Borges, I know, spoke with many staff members. And it was just something, Mr. Boniface, who is our instructor in the course, that they felt very strongly that students receive,
Mhm.
all 8th grade students receive that instruction and collaboration and project-based learning. So all of our 8th graders will have it.
Do I still have the floor? Because I have 4 questions. I'm not gonna raise my, yeah, okay. So, and I saw with with the new science courses at the middle school, I know that we now have Mackenzie there. So is it just the new stuff? Did it used to be called, do we not have the GIS anymore? Is it,
So as part of the new plan.
I'm used to reading it the old way.
We did do some renaming.
Okay,
So,
perfect.
So instead of gifted science, it's now called accelerated science.
That's what I thought.
And the reason is, and I am new,
Yeah.
for consistency purposes, I wanted all of our
I
upper
like
level
it.
courses to be called accelerated.
It's
So
great.
you'll note at the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade level in language arts, you'll also notice an accelerated
I like
option.
it.
That makes sense. We've been doing that.
I like it.
We just weren't calling it that. So for me, just bringing my experience, I think it was important for consistency. So now we are labeling it that way.
Okay, and I thought that was the case because I like that because, like you said, it's consistent with going into the next building.
And that's how our high school also,
Yeah.
that labels our upper level courses.
So anyways, I just want to acknowledge all the hard work because we talked at Capitol Conference. It was so great to see how excited you were when you took some classes. We could literally see the smoke coming out of your ears. You know, how can I bring this to Tipp City? That was so great. And now to see this course, I know how hard you've been working with your team. And it's just wonderful. And the career exploration piece, I know that that's going to be for freshmen, but there are current high school students who haven't even had that, and they're juniors and seniors. So will they be able to take that? Or is that kind of going to be go ahead.
We are requiring it starting next year, so it will be
I love that.
required for the class of 2026. Juniors and seniors, or future
Right.
juniors and seniors, they will be encouraged to take the career exploration course if they so choose. So
Okay.
for those juniors and
Great.
seniors, we would allow them to take that, but we are gearing this new because it's a graduation, it would be a graduation requirement,
Sure.
half credit to our freshmen and sophomores. We really want our freshmen to take the course. However, with their schedules, I'm sure many of you know, sometimes it's just hard to fit in if they have other electives. So we did also want to make it available to sophomores.
Would I be able to feedback on that?
Mrs. Stein, yes.
We currently have, I'll do that because I got enough.
Point of order.
Just silence, just let her talk. She's recognized. All 4 were recognized. Stop being so petty. Go ahead, please. Please go ahead.
Mr. Patrick.
Please, no, I didn't ask for petty, ridiculous
No, it's
behavior.
not petty.
Go ahead, you are
It's a whole
recognized.
process.
Let's be civil.
Yes, please.
We currently have career and college readiness that is offered at the upper level. It's 9 through 12. So we have many students who at the upper level who have already taken that course. And career and college readiness is also in our required personal finance class.
Mhm.
So they are currently getting it.
Good.
So, yeah. You're welcome.
And just for future notice, the 4 presenters are free to speak at their leisure, and they're continuously recognized until they're done discussing this item.
I'm recognized.
Wait, I still.
Oh, you still.
Sorry.
Still on the floor.
Yeah, it's okay. I keep getting interrupted, which is great. Interrupt away because I want all the feedback. I also wanted to give you a kudos on the Naviance piece because I think it's kind of like if you don't make a kid do it and then have that accountability, then they become a junior and it's like, oh my gosh, I kind of missed the boat on that. So thank you for recognizing that that's an area that is helpful and we need to be better at. And I think that's going to benefit all the kids for sure, because they're going to their teachers, so great call on that. And then also the other thing is, every year we thank you for early, because we usually get it like in April or May. It's a very big document so having it early is amazing. And then the other thing is I always ask for an audit. So I love that you've audited the classes. And I mean, this is wonderful. This is exactly why we created these 2 new positions. this document speaks for itself as to why those positions were so needed. So your hard work is very obvious in that. I did have one question on the AP Calculus BC. I didn't see any prereqs on that class. So could you maybe explain that?
Yes.
You know why I'm asking that? I'll say it if you don't want to. I'll give you my 2 cents.
Go.
Okay, so at Tippecanoe High School, Mr. Barnes, even though it's your first year, you may or may not already know this, the junior year is the hardest year. Like if you're in the accelerated program or just, CP, the junior year seems to be the year that it's a really hard year for kids. It's your academically, typically most rigorous year. We have phenomenal AP teachers. The students, there are 2 classes in particular that the students, I don't want to say you avoid, but you're just thinking, oh my gosh, I want to take this class. I love the teacher, but I just know that class could definitely take my GPA because it's probably one of the 2 hardest classes at the high school. So that's why I asked if they were going to do a prereq on the AP Calc, because AP Stats is one of those classes where you just know you're working your butt off to get the weighted, grade. Go ahead.
In the rationale, it didn't have it, but in the actual program of studies, on page 39, there is a prereq. So our math department does have a prerequisite for the BC course,
Okay.
a B grade or higher in accelerated pre-calc or teacher recommendation. So there is most definitely a prereq for that course, for the BC course.
Okay.
Did that answer your question?
I'll follow up later. I'm not going to turn this into a big thing. So
Okay.
thank you.
You're
So,
welcome.
yeah.
Do you have any other questions, Mrs. Dunaway?
Nope, that was it.
Mrs. Zakor?
Yes, I'd like clarity on a couple things. When you said, Ms. Scott, about college and career readiness plan, is that the one that requires the 12 points? Or is that system, am I confusing that with a different system, or has that been? And
Ms. Sakura, there are a lot of state systems, and the
Yeah.
state likes to change those systems, as we know.
Yeah.
The 12-point industry credential will still be one option in the new graduation requirements. So if you don't know, graduation requirements are changing next year with the class of 2023. So the 18-point end of course option with the accumulation of points in the 7 end of course tests, that is changing. So starting with this year's juniors, next year's seniors, they will now be doing, it's called course credits. That did not change. You're required to have 20 credits in the various subject areas plus competency. So you are required to get a 684 in both Algebra 1 and ELA 2 as a sophomore. And then you have to meet the new SEAL requirement. And that's the 2 SEALs out of the 12 state options or the 3 locally determined options. In the second one, under competency, there are competency alternatives. One of those competency alternatives is that workplace credential or the 12-point credential that used to be under the old system, part of the alternative pathways. So the state has kept it in there, Ms. Sakor, but it is in a different area. It's now under Part 2 competency alternatives.
career readiness.
Under career readiness. Yes, career readiness.
So interesting.
Yes.
And speaking of the SEALs, I'm trying to keep it straight. It's hard. I don't know how you all do it, but if I understand this correctly, there are certain the SEAL requirements in part are dictated by the state, and then the local district has some discretion as to how they finish that out. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So my question is, I'm looking at your 2023 class and beyond. So I'm really passionate about this. Do we allow at the local level a SEAL? Do we award a SEAL for our students who are working, who are employed? Because I don't think I saw it in here. It's not to say I didn't miss it or understand it. My take on that was that we do not. Okay.
No, it is no longer, no, it is not a SEAL. It is not a state recognized SEAL.
Well,
Now, in the Ohio Means Jobs, there are job shadowing components to that SEAL. So that's the closest to any work
so my
requirement.
question is, thank you for distinguishing. It's not a state recognized, but can it be a locally recognized seal for us?
The 3 locally recognized seals are also determined by the state. We do have discretion as a school district in the number of hours we put in some of the seals. So the 3 local seals are the community service seal, student engagement seal, and fine and performing arts. So the broad
If I may,
outline.
so what is a student engagement seal?
You're gonna ask me the one I don't know. The student,
I'll Google it for you.
the student engagement seal, maybe Mr. Barnes, the student engagement seal. It has, I know,
Google it.
extracurricular
Let's Google it.
activities. So if you play a certain number of sports, if you're involved in extracurriculars, I just don't remember the hours or how many, but student engagement is an extracurricular activity domain. I
Okay,
can't get back to you on that. Or look at that.
Outside of the arts.
Outside of the arts, fine and performing arts is a different area.
Is a separate one.
Mhm.
so if there is any, my comments to the board and to the community, if there's any way that there's a way to slip in and, you know, assert some local authority and autonomy on these seals, I would highly, highly recommend that our students who are holding jobs count that as a seal. I cannot speak long and loud enough on what employment does to young people in terms of responsibility, self-direction, cooperativeness, managing money, understanding just some days I don't want to go to work, but they do. Plus, I would also like to say that we have a portion of students, and I know several of them, who work not by choice, but they work to buy their deodorant, they work to buy their personal particulars and the like, they work to try and save for a car, and they don't have time for extracurriculars because they go to school and they work when they're not in school. They're amazing students who will probably go very far in the industry world in terms of leadership and the like. But I just want to say, if there's any way we can be of assistance and say to these people, we recognize the amazing things you're doing beyond school hours and in holding an employed and holding a job, that we will facilitate and make it easier for that student to get a seal, that I'm 100% for.
Mrs. Dunaway?
I can read it. The community service seal.
That's,
Yeah, is that the one?
no, the community service seal,
Because that one's already in there.
the
Okay.
board's determined that it'll be 30 hours of community service if a
Okay.
student is to earn that seat.
What one did you ask about?
Student engagement.
Oh, student engagement. Oh, it's here. Participate in extracurricular activities such as athletics, clubs, or student government to a meaningful extent as determined by guidelines adopted by the school district's local board of education or school governing authority.
That would be the one.
Right.
Perhaps, yeah.
So you go.
That we could perhaps, excuse me, may I be recognized?
Go ahead, Mrs. Secor.
So is that one that we could perhaps,
I can definitely look into
I
it
That's a
don't,
good one.
and speak with the team. Yes.
yes, because here again, I think based on what Mrs. Dunaway read, something about so many hours
No, it's
or community service. My point is this, these kids don't have time to go out and do community service and all this other extracurriculum. They go to school and then they work. And they repeat the process over and over and over. And I say it's time to reward them, to recognize that employment that they do beyond their school hours. And they're kind of dismissed, they're forgotten because they can't wedge into those other areas. So any help you can do in that recognizing process, I think would be amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Yes, I'd just like to say, because Mrs. Dunaway was very complimentary to me, I would like to say that it has been a big team effort, and without the tremendous help of Mrs. Staub, Mr. Barnes, Mrs. Voorhees, the counseling staff,
Yes,
many, many teachers, this work could not have been done. So I want to give them recognition.
absolutely. Thank you to everybody.
Thank you,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you to all of you for all your hard work.
May I be recognized one more time?
Go ahead, Mrs. Secor.
Thank you very much. One other quick question. I don't know, I sense that you were sort of wrapping up, Ms. Scott. So I wanted to ask you, the gifted education program, is that going to be a piece to?
Well, it's item B, but it's also on
Well,
attachment
it's-
5.
Yeah, so I didn't know
Okay.
what you want.
I believe that was moved off the consent agenda, the gifted services plan.
It's next, it's B, gifted education plan.
For this, okay.
Is that what you asked? Is that your question?
I'm just not clear where it was fitting in on my,
The attachment is on both the
It's on both.
curriculum discussion, item
Okay.
10A and item 10B. So I believe Mrs. Zakor's question is, was it included in the curriculum discussion, or are we revisiting that as well in 10B?
And it's in.
I think so, yeah.
It's in 10B.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
So the next item for discussion is the 2021-2022 gifted education plan.
Yes, yes, and this is actually one of my, one of my typos. You see in the recommended action, it says recommend approval of the 2022-2023 Tipp City Schools Gifted Education Plan. The dates are supposed to line up. It's supposed to be 2021-2022 Tipp City Schools Gifted Plan. As we reviewed items that should be brought to the board for approval, we found that the 2021-2022 Gifted Education Plan had not been brought to the board yet. We're at semester. Ms. Ramsey reviewed the outline of referral processes and gifted education offerings that we have in the district at various grade levels. And that's in the plan that was presented or is presented to the board, today. So you can look through that and you can see the types of, assessments that are used to make gifted identification and at the various grade levels, the options that we offer to students that meet the various levels of giftedness.
Is there a motion to approve the recommended approval of the 2021 to 2022 Tipp City Schools Gifted Plan?
Amen.
Second,
First by Zakor, second by Dunaway. Is there any discussion?
who's in charge of this? Is it all questions be directed to Mr.
Mrs. Zakor?
Okay, yes, thank you.
Yeah, questions can come my way, today. If I don't have answers, then I'll have to get them from Ms. Ramsey and get back to the board.
All right, go ahead, Mrs. Zakor.
Just kind of an FYI on the gifted. With our district, we're not looking at giftedness in terms of music and the creative arts, correct? It just looks like it's concentrated mostly towards subjects, am I right?
Academic.
Academic,
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a reason that we don't? Is it just a resource issue?
It hasn't been brought to my attention why we don't, or why it's not part of our program. But again, those are the types of suggestions that we can look at, as we revise the gifted offerings for the future. It may be resource based. It might be resources and or staff, but we would have to look into that because there are giftedness qualifiers in all areas.
Yes, and so thank you for that. I mean, I understand you only have so much to work with, and but also just as an elevation and conversation that giftedness is very meaningful as well in the creative arts, and we don't talk about it, so I didn't know the district just can't entertain it or hasn't entertained it or what the situation is. Thank you.
Anyone else? Mrs. Dunaway.
Yeah, this is just kind of a nitpicky thing. I mean, it's, when the students received you get an annual letter, your child's, gifted, this is their WEP. Would it be possible for us to actually sign the letter? Because I just feel like as a parent, that just makes you feel like somebody in the district knows who your student is. It's not just a piece of paper and there's no signature on it. It's like someone just got 50 things off the printer, stuck them in an envelope, and out the door they went. Just doesn't seem very personal. That's all. Makes you feel kind of like, No one cares. Nobody cares.
Well, with that again, I'm making sure that I heard it correctly. When you said,
WEP,
yeah, with WEP, with the notification letter.
Correct.
For the WEP, did you say that
they come in.
nobody from the district has signed the
Correct.
letter, or nobody, there's no like receipt notification from the parent side that the parents don't sign the letter? You're saying there's
Both.
there's no
Yeah,
certification from the district?
so it would be like if I sent you something and it said, Teresa Dunaway, board member, and there was a line for me to sign it, but I never signed it.
Okay,
So to me, if you're gonna put somebody's name on there, if it says Mr. Stefanik Superintendent, and there's a line for your name,
Yes.
actually put your name, or just leave it off.
One way.
Kick it up a notch. Be professional. Let's go the extra mile. Come on.
thank you.
Mrs. Fox, just want to make a note of a revision that needs to be made under that agenda item that we're presently speaking about. The recommended action still says 2022 to 2023 versus 2021 to 2022. I'm not sure if you've made a revision within board docs, but I've refreshed a few times and it's still the same.
Yeah, I didn't go to the agenda. I just typed it in the new motion.
Okay.
So it'll come through on the actual motion, but I can certainly change the agenda too.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? No other discussion? Call the vote for the approval.
Zakor,
Yes.
Dunaway,
Yes.
Drum,
Yes.
Maines,
Yes,
Patrick.
Yes. Item 10C, recommended approval of the 2022-2023 Tippecanoe Middle School and High School programs of studies, or program of studies. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mrs. Dunaway, is there a second?
I second.
Mrs. Drum beat you, Mr. Maines.
Or Mr. Maine. Sorry.
So,
I'm
Mrs.
signing up for the
Mrs.
board.
Dunaway, Mrs. Drum. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, I would call for a vote.
Dunaway,
Yes.
Drum,
Yes.
Maines,
Yes,
Patrick,
Yes.
and Zakor.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is item 10D, the TEE grant acceptance. And the recommended action is recommend approval to accept $12,049 in grant dollars from Tippecanoe Educational Endowment. And then the content is below.
Amen.
Moved by Mrs. Zakor. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Maines is second. Any discussion? Mrs. Zakor?
Thank you. Well, yeah, I just want to say thanks for the money. I mean, it's, wow, it's always greatly appreciated.
I would, may I have the floor?
Yes, sir.
I would add that, I was privileged to be able to work as an advisor. I only did it for a year. But those members, I'm sure most of them are quite a few of them are still there. We're all awesome when I was on that advisory committee. Wish I could still serve on it, but I know we've got a good one for you. So, but you guys are a great group.
Any other discussion? Mrs. Dunaway?
I have did you have a question, Mr. Strong?
No, I was just gonna make a comment.
Oh, I have a question. What's a calming room?
Yes, thank you.
It's high school because it's Christine Schmidt and Hope School
Yes.
High School.
Mr. Barnes, you want to take it or? you want
What's a
me to take
calming
it?
room? I think we need one tonight. Can you bring it here?
Can you go over there and use
What is a calming room?
You take a field trip.
The calming room is a room in the office for students that are in anxious or crisis. Crisis is a word we use, but it doesn't necessarily mean the world's falling.
Sure.
But so if they're having anxiety or that sort of thing, and they need a calming space,
Yeah, okay.
I welcome anybody to come over and see it. It's got different chairs, different therapy type things that they can do. It's going to sound somewhat silly, but it's important for some of them. But like adult coloring books, sometimes they just need to forget about
Decompress.
what it is that wound them up.
Mhm.
But they are required to sign in. They are required to see one of the counselors. Hopefully it's their counselor, but sometimes their counselor's not available. They do need to check in with the counselors, and there is a Hope Squad member assigned each period. And they have been trained to help students talk through. Now, they're also students, so they understand confidentiality and all that kind of stuff. But so if a situation gets to the point where the Hope Squad member is like, whoa, this is too much for me to handle, then they know to go get the counselor or whoever is available.
Okay. So I see the generous T grant. Is it operational now? Is that
Yes.
just this year? Okay, great.
Yes, it is operational now, and I don't know if that grant is to continue the services, I would imagine, or if it was
Good.
to set it up, but
Wonderful.
it is very nice. Stop by.
Patrick.
Oh, please.
This is the second time we have funded the.
Okay.
So.
This year, but it's new this year.
No. It is in existence before. This is the second time we have funded.
Okay,
This
so maybe it
particular-
wasn't a physical room last time or something.
It was in development last year,
Okay.
mid-year.
Okay.
It was just
Right, so I
getting
think
Now it's enough.
we only have one grant cycle, so
Yeah,
they
okay.
asked for funding maybe to start it and then
Yeah,
have.
maybe get
asked
chairs or something.
For additional.
Okay.
Funding.
Great.
And I don't know, Mr. Barnes, I don't know if you mentioned it, I was listening, I really was listening, but I can't remember if you mentioned it at the beginning. It's an area in the office complex. So if I remember the spot, you tell me if I'm thinking of the wrong room. The counseling wing is very close.
It's actually right beside Ms. Cooper's office.
Right.
So then the counselor.
That's what I said, and right, that's the space I was thinking of. So the counselor's on one side, the administrators are on the other side. So there's a support network right there. So they're right inside the office wing.
Any other discussion or questions?
I just wanted to say again, thank you for the grants and offering these things to the students, because this helps make our community better. So thank you so much for your hard work, your fundraising, everything you guys do. Really, thank you so much.
Take that back to our members. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Mr. Steele.
I was just going to make the comment, as a lifelong educator, what I get excited about is the diversity, and all the different areas that you touch, with the money, and nothing against, like STEAM grants or music grants or something like that, but they're kind of homogeneous, and when you look through here, you're touching various grade levels and various programs, and it's just exciting to see, how many areas get touched with your donation. So thank you.
Mrs. Zakorius, yes.
Yes, thank you. I will piggyback on that. When you look at the TEE, whatever month it is, it just looks very equal opportunistic. And I think that's a great thing to say, that it seems very broad-based and absorbs a lot of areas instead of just like focusing on a couple particulars. So
We encourage all the applicants to apply for grants.
and it seems very apparent that you're very even, fair, and it's great. What I wanted to ask about the calming room is, because it sounds like it's sort of a minimal monetary investment with hopefully a big return. How does a student advocate for themselves to be in the calming room? What does one do, Mr. Barnes?
They are, they are permitted to come down on their own. We do have some students that we keep an eye on because they're either in there a lot because they want to avoid class, or they're in there a lot because we're concerned about them. But most of the students come down on their own. They know it's there. And like I said, somebody from Hope Squad is in there every period. So they are permitted to come in, but there's a Chromebook in there, they have to check in. And then that sends an email to the counselors that they know somebody's down there. But again, they're never unsupervised, and it's right beside Ms. Cooper's office. So,
Okay, second question, is there aromatherapy in there?
well, as somebody had COVID twice, I don't smell much, so I can't tell you if there's aromatherapy, but there is, there's all kinds of LED lights and there's
LEDs, strobe lights.
yeah, not strobe lights, that would be a little different. But it's very soothing. Come on over and you can
Okay.
check it out. There's like a
And
salt lamp.
Next
kind of
question,
thing.
and so how does the student body know about this? I mean,
It's posted all over the school. Hope Squad goes around and talks to people. It's been on the announcements.
so it's
Yeah.
well known, okay.
Yeah.
And final question, because it does sound, the calming room, sometimes you just need a place and a moment to decompress. How is this offered in any of the other buildings?
Not currently.
Okay. Thank you.
I'd also like to extend go ahead.
I'm sorry, Ms.
No, please go ahead.
We are moving there is a middle school option to move to a virtual calming room that our middle school counselor is exploring currently. So we are trying, because we don't have the physical space at the middle school currently to have the room like at the high school. So she is exploring virtual calming room options. So I just wanted to share that with the board. Sorry, Mr. Patch.
No, please don't apologize. Thank you very much for all you've done and for this amazing grant. Is there any more discussion? All right, having no further discussion, I would call for a vote.
Zakor,
Yes.
Maines,
Yes.
Drum,
Yes.
Dunaway,
Yes,
and Patrick.
Yes. Next item on our agenda is 10E, classified new hire. Mr. Stefanik, do you recommend approval to employ the following staff for 2021-2022 school year pending proper certification and paperwork? Is there a motion to approve?
I motion that we approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
First, Mr. Maines, and second, Mrs. Drum. And Mr. Maines, if you have any discussion, feel free, or if you wish, you can yield the floor to Mr. Stefanik.
I will yield the floor to Mr. Stefanik.
Mr. Stefanik?
All right, just, we had an opening for a second shift custodial worker. And we were fortunate to find Mr. Elkins. And because, not just because of COVID, but because of COVID and other cleaning needs that need to be addressed at all of our schools, I invoked the executive privilege and got him started before this January board meeting.
Any other discussion? Dunaway.
yeah, I just moved it out of the consent agenda because I just had a question, because of COVID and the recent, move to the online learning. There's a lot of stuff going around, and are we doing enough, or can we do more, or what can we do to make sure that our custodial workers are, that they feel valued, and we're doing everything possible to do anything we can we want to keep them.
Yeah.
They're keeping us going right now. So we want to show our appreciation, and, it's always hard to hire that position.
Yeah. What I can say is Mrs. Hagan, reinforces, with her team often the role that they play and how important they are.
Yeah.
I think it's a credit to them that they pitch in when they're shorthanded, and they come to all the different buildings rescues if we happen to have an illness and we can't get something covered. And so they're all pitching in to make sure that that everybody is as safe as possible, and that all the cleaning and definitely the disinfecting work is being done on a regular basis to keep everybody as safe as possible.
So my follow-up question to that would be, it kind of ties in with agenda item R, but I'll ask it now. Hopefully we won't have to come to this, but the nighttime cleaning is kind of what's keeping us going right now with Omicron. So if we were to have kind of get in that situation again where, we don't have enough teachers, we don't have enough bus drivers, hey, we don't have enough custodial workers, has there been discussion as to, we can at least keep some buildings open where you kind of migrate them all and just maybe shut down? Okay, that's all.
Yeah, we
Great.
did that last year, and we had we had shortages across the district, and so what we did is we consolidated who we had
Perfect.
and put them in the three younger buildings, and then we just went to remote for the secondary buildings.
Okay.
We would have probably considered that again this year,
Okay.
but in that week where we had our highest data,
Mhm.
some of the high data was coming from Nevin Kopic. And so, actually saying that, that building could keep in operation when the secondary schools closed, it just wasn't lining up like it did last year.
Okay, so if it becomes a custodial staffing issue, you close the elementary first and then the other two buildings go to online, is that correct? Or did I hear that wrong?
No, I don't want to say you heard it wrong.
Yeah, great.
No, we did last year is we kept the three primary buildings open, the three elementary buildings open.
Correct.
And we closed the secondary and we moved all the cafeteria and custodial staff members down to the three buildings that were still open. And that helped us fill the slots. We had a number of people to do that, but if we kept all five buildings open, we were shorthanded.
Okay. Yeah, because to me, the middle school and high school, that's when your academics get more rigorous and you want to keep those buildings open because it's harder for those teachers to teach online and the shortened bell schedule. So you're cramming a lot more, where in the elementary, it's.
Point of order, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to cut you
No,
off
I'm
here,
good.
but we're getting
Yeah.
a little off topic here.
Yeah.
Just wanted to ask a question.
Is there any other discussion concerning the approval of this classified staff member? Hearing no other discussion? Call for the vote.
Maines,
Yes.
Drum,
Yes.
Dunaway,
Yes.
Patry,
Yes.
Zakor.
Yes.
Next item is item 10F, third grade reading guarantee tutors. Recommended actions that recommend approval for the following certified teachers to also be third grade reading guarantee tutors. And then with the individuals listed on the agenda below, is there a motion to approve?
I'll motion we approve.
I'll second. Mr. Maines, if you wish, you can speak first, or you can yield your time to Mr. Stefanik.
I yield to Mr. Stefanik.
We have third grade reading guarantee throughout the state. And so we put supports in place to help our students, the at-risk students achieve those goals and meet one of the criteria to meet the third grade reading guarantee. And these teachers are put in place to help us meet that goal and help those students.
Any discussion or questions for Mr. Stefanik? Ms. Dunaway.
How are we doing on the third grade reading guarantee?
Well, the first piece that I can speak to is the fall testing, and mentioned it at a couple board meetings ago. But we're excited this year that the fall testing numbers took a big jump. And 2 years ago, I believe our percentage in the fall was 52% proficient. After the COVID spring, and then we tested last year, we were at 51, which I think is a credit to the teachers, because those second graders lost 3 months of school in the spring and came back, and we only had 1 percentage point drop. But this year,
64.
Ms. Young, 64. Okay, it was either 64 or 66, and so we had a big jump in the students that have already achieved the proficient level, and so we work on the ones that haven't achieved that yet, and they get another shot at it in the spring.
Perfect, thank you.
Just to share with the
Yeah.
board.
Oh, wait a
After
minute, I don't have the right, sorry, go ahead, Renee. Okay.
After an alternative test, which takes place in January after the fall testing, we are down to just 9 students who haven't passed a third grade test.
Oh, good.
Great.
That makes me so happy. That's
Thank you.
phenomenal. Thank you so
I
much.
received that January update,
I-
so thank you for that.
Mrs. Smith shares a lot of data with me, so I like data.
Thank you.
Being a parent to third graders, I can tell you, that's all we do is read, and you guys have so many awesome programs that keep them engaged. It's wonderful. And when they're in second grade as well, it's just, I think everyone there is doing a great job. Thank you for all your hard work on that. Is there any other discussion?
Mr. Petra, I have a question about your two children. I've heard that they were relatively competitive. Are they competitive with reading results as well?
Point of order.
I gave you permission to ask the question and they are competitive in every aspect of it.
I like that.
I saw them at tug of war last year. That's the reason I asked that question.
They're also gracious losers. Though. They learned that from me. A lot of practice at losing. So, all right, any other discussion? All right. No, hearing no other discussion, call for a vote.
Maines,
Yes.
Patry,
Yes.
Drum,
Yes.
Dunaway,
Yes.
Zakor.
Yes.
All right, next item is 10G substitutes. Recommend approval to employ the following for the 2021-22 school year, pending proper certification and paperwork. And the individuals as listed on the agenda.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All right, Mrs. Dunaway and Mrs. Drum. Is there any discussion? Yes, go ahead, Mrs. Dunaway.
Mr. Stefanik, obviously with everything going around right now, all of us, districts, we're fighting for substitutes, right? It's like, oh yes, we got our list filled today. We are rocking it. What are we doing or have we done anything? I know you guys have probably had discussions about this in your admin meetings to make sure that we have enough substitutes.
Well, we acted last year on the daily rate for substitutes.
$25 we raised it.
Yeah, we raised the rate last year. I don't know if anybody has heard, but here in the last week or so, some districts have raised it again to try to encourage the substitutes to come their way. We haven't done that yet. We believe that we have some pretty loyal substitutes, and we only ran into a jam when our staff numbers escalated at the same time that COVID hit our sub pool. And so the sub pool was shrinking while our need was increasing. And so that added to some of our issue 2 weeks ago. But today, except for a couple of late absence entries last night, we had our sub positions filled. We left Friday, everything was full, and we had a couple entered last night, and we were able to fill a couple of those. But we were in a lot better shape today than we were 2 weeks ago.
And in our district, do you need a college degree to substitute? Okay.
We do now.
That's another thing some districts are waiving just during this period. I didn't think that we had waived ours, but I was just asking.
We did not waive ours. That came up last year, and then there was a legislative action this year that extended it again.
Right.
We have not gone down that road, and we hope we can stay with folks with a college degree to give our students the best possible substitutes they can get.
Great. Thank you.
Any other? Go ahead, Mrs.
I was just going to ask Dr. Tuttle Huff, anything to add to the substitute pieces?
Just that we're trying to let them know how much we appreciate them. We're doing a substitute of the month, and we'll do a video for those. We already have someone picked for this month, and so we're just trying to do anything to get them to understand how much we appreciate them. So hopefully that'll help.
Yes, thank you. I saw the video. Thank you.
Dr. Tuttle Huff has done an amazing job. They actually came up with the idea where they were down at the football game. I don't know how many people saw it, but they had the Tipp Pride fundraiser right next door to theirs. And so Dr. Tuttle Huff had candy to try to entice the people to come to this table first. And we were looking for everything: substitute teachers, substitute bus drivers, substitute anything they wanted to substitute for. We had a program for a bunch of interests, and we got some people to sign up off of the table. So it was worthwhile, and luckily the weather was nice that night, so we didn't have to stand in the rain or anything. So.
Right. Sorry, Mr. Court.
2 questions. The college degree, does that include, that's associate degrees? I believe we got something that came through on that from ODE about because of the sub crisis. There,
You can revise your criteria, but right now, we're not at the associate's degree level.
Okay.
We're at the 4-year degree level.
second question, and I don't know how this works in terms of any regulations, but in order to attract the subs, in addition to whatever extra pay, what about doing like a monthly drawing for a dinner certificate or something too? Really nice.
I can go.
Now, that means if they, that means if they have actually subbed during that month.
I'll have to see what's permitted. I know for educators, gift cards and things like that are typically frowned upon. So we'll have to check the regulations on that and see, what types of incentives we're allowed to put out there. Or what types of funding we're allowed to use for incentives.
I'm not trying to stifle discussion here, but we're getting a little off topic. We're here to approve the list of substitutes. So if we could stay on task, please. Any discussion concerning the approval of the following individuals as substitutes? All right, having no further discussion, I'll call for a vote.
Dunaway,
Yes.
Drum,
Yes.
Maines,
Yes.
Patry,
Yes.
and Zakor.
Yes.
Next item is item 10H resignations. Recommend approval of the following resignations as listed on the agenda. Is there a motion?
I'll move that we accept the resignation.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Maine, seconded by Mrs. Dunaway. Is there any discussion? Mr. Maines, you have first dibs if you wish.
I have no further.
Ms. Dunaway?
Yeah, just a statement really. Where are we with exit interviews with staff? We've discussed that back and forth ongoing. Just throwing that out there. That's all.
Any other discussion? I thank Coach Baker for his work. And then, is there any other discussion? Right. Call for a vote, please.
Maines,
Yes.
Dunaway,
Yes.
Drum,
Yes.
Patry,
Yes,
Zakor.
Yes.
motion passes. Next item on the agenda is 10I, change in assignment. Recommend approval to revise the following approved position. I would make the motion as reflected on the agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
First Patry, second Mrs. Drum, and Mr. Stefanik, I would yield my time to you.
Okay. We have a worker that was approved in some previous board meeting as a paid game worker position. And the person approached, I believe, Melanie first. She approached you first about
Michelle on payroll.
Michelle Bell, okay. And she wanted to see what the easiest way was to donate her game worker supplement or stipend to the athletic department. And in conversations, the stipend originates in the athletic department. And so to avoid any tax issues or whatever, if it just stayed put in the athletic department, that was the easiest way for her to donate, her working money, to the her worker money to the athletic department. So we're just requesting that instead of being a paid game worker position, that she's listed as an unpaid volunteer, and she'll still do the work that she was planning to do when she was a paid game worker.
Is there any discussion? All right, no further discussion. Call for a vote.
Patry,
Yes.
Drum,
Yes.
Dunaway,
Yes.
Maines,
Yes.
Zakor.
Yes.
Next item is 10J, certified long-term substitutes. Recommended approval to hire the following long-term substitutes for the 2021-2022 school year, pending proper certification and paperwork. certified long substitutes are as listed on the agenda item. Can I entertain a motion?
I motion that we recommend approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
First by Mr. Main, second by Mrs. Drum. Is there any discussion?
I have one item, Mr. Patrick.
Mr. Stefanik?
This is my other typo in there for Miss Biano for her long-term sub. It should be master's level, step 0, rather than bachelor's level, step 0 for the long-term sub. So it should just be an M instead of a B.
Do you have that, Mrs. Fox?
Yeah, I can make the correction.
And I'll note that for my discussion is that Mrs. Miano is one of my children's teachers, so I'm not sure what the conflicts would be on that, so I'll just abstain, but I think she's awesome.
Okay, if you look at the content there, you should see an update. For Miano Masters. And I did update that item B, Simon, as well for the 21-22, so I apologize for going backward.
And no worries.
Got that updated on the agenda.
I show it reflected as M step 0. All right. Any other discussion? Call for a vote.
Ames,
Yes.
Drum,
Yes.
Dunaway,
Abstain?
Patrick,
Abstain.
and Zakor.
Abstain.
Motion passes. Next item is item 10K, leave of absence.
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
And then just for clarity for the public, the recommended action is approval of the following FMLA request for the 2021-2022 school year for the individuals listed below on the agenda. Is there any discussion?
Oh, 1 second.
Go.
I'm sorry. As I look at this, do we need to revise the motion, Dr. Tuttlehoff? Is there one in here?
Yes, the one that says 21 weeks, it's backwards, I believe. It should say 12.
12
weeks.
instead of 21?
Yes.
Third from the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but I'm looking at the date, actually. The motion says for this school year, and is that all the way to December? So
No,
is it this calendar year?
they put the wrong, it should be 12/3/21 for 12 weeks.
Okay,
Well, I'm just gonna.
So I'll motion to correct that.
Yes.
I'll second.
I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt.
No,
I
you're
saw
good.
that on there when I said school year. I thought it was coming up next December.
So do you want to put the 21-22 school year? Do you want to put both school years?
No, 21-22 school year is correct. And if you go to Johnson, you go to Johnson on there, it should be 12/3/2021. Open for 12 weeks.
Yeah, so
And all the other ones look good.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes, they're all inside of this school year. Yes.
And sorry.
Okay.
And there's presently now then, this is under a motion to amend under Zakor Dunaway. But
Okay.
as you've just amended it, and
Okay.
so is there any discussion? Mrs. Dunaway?
Yeah, I was just a little confused because I did not know that the board approved FMLA. I thought that under policy 3430 and 1630, that it was just the superintendent, because it's never really, come up, and I know those laws change a lot.
I've always approved them everywhere I've been.
Okay,
The board has.
right. I know that stuff changes a lot, and so, okay. And then,
I'll double check that for you, but I'm pretty sure.
okay. That was my only question.
I'm looking at the policy.
I read them twice, but I'm not an attorney. In the past, I don't remember doing them.
What I was familiar.
But we've
with
never
is
had
it
HR
affected
before.
payroll.
We've never had HR before, so it's all different now. Everything changes. It gets more in line.
I think it does follow our typical customary notice of procedural requirements pursuant to 1630.01.
Okay.
Is there any other discussion?
Can I clarify something?
Please.
So we have one motion or a second motion?
There was a original motion, but then we amended it to correct the typo from 21 to 12.
So the original I have is Teresa Dunaway, Richard Maines, and we have a second, Dunaway and Zakor.
There's an
Dunaway.
amended motion, a motion to amend that motion to correct the information there, which is Zakor Dunaway,
Yes, it's okay.
Zakor Dunaway.
which is the present motion before the board is the amended motion.
Correct. Final, okay. Motion to adjust the dates and 21 weeks to 12 weeks.
It's just a motion with the different dates. It's not to adjust, it's the motion to amend is to approve it the way it is now written.
Zakor,
Yes.
Dunaway,
Yes.
Drum,
Yes.
Maines,
Yes,
Patrick.
Yes. Motion passes. Next item,
Wait, we didn't vote on the original.
well, it makes it moot.
Oh, okay.
Well, go ahead. I mean, I think it does, but
Okay, sure.
I mean, we can go ahead and vote on the original one with the incorrect date if you wish,
No, point of order, if I may.
please.
The original motion was to approve that group collectively.
Yeah.
The second motion was to make a correction on one individual within that group.
I understood the motion to be amended to reflect the correct information all at once. In other words, I move to amend it as it's stated, except with the different date is what I understood the motion to be.
Probably would work too. Okay.
That's what my understanding, that's why when Mrs. Fox asked for clarification, I indicated that my understanding of the motion before the board was to approve it with the corrected information.
Then I misunderstood. I apologize. I thought we were voting on. the-
Somehow we got the second motion in there.
Yeah,
We had Dunaway Mains and then somehow we had Secor Dunaway. So I say one motion without a vote, which we can.
I mean,
And then the second motion. can
no,
be a vote.
if the motion before the board was not what I stated, then we have to vote again now on the original motion, because if the
That's all
motion
right.
was to amend the motion to reflect the change versus just a motion to amend it to have the change and approve it all, then we have to do the original motion again with the correct. So just go ahead and take a call for the first, and that'll take care of that.
Dunaway,
abstain.
Mains,
Abstain.
Drum,
Yes.
Patry,
Yes.
and Secor.
Yes.
Item 10L, Tipp Foundation grant acceptance. Recommended approval to accept $8,320.73 in grant dollars from the Tipp Foundation with other content reflected in the agenda. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Mrs. Dunaway, is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Maines, Mrs. Dunaway, any discussion?
No.
Mr. Maines?
No discussion.
Just a big thank you. That's it.
Any other person's discussion? I'd also like to thank the Tipp Foundation for their continuous support of the school district, including this latest grant. Anything else? All right. Call for the vote.
Dunaway,
Yes.
Mains,
Yes.
Drum,
Yes.
Patry,
Yes.
Secor.
Yes.
Item 10M, Monroe Township donation. Recommended approval to accept $498.54 of their Repurposed Care Act funds to the touchless water fountains to cover 100% of the 14 new units sold for our district. I will make the motion.
I will second.
First Patry, second Drum, and Mr. Stefanik, I yield the floor to you.
All right, if you focus on the last phrase of the motion, Monroe Township made a very generous donation, either the last meeting or the meeting before, to help us with our touchless water fountains. And we found that the bill was $498.54 more than the original donation. And so the Monroe Township went and they looked at their budget and they found the remainder to make sure that they were paying for 100%, of the assistance with the water fountain. So the school district didn't have to use any of its dollars for that project. So we thanked them last time for the large donation, and we thanked them for this extra donation to make sure that they covered the entire conversion of our water fountains.
Any other discussion?
I'd just like to say thank you. They appreciate it. The kids really appreciate water during the day.
Mrs. Core, did you have your answer?
Yes, I also thank you very much to Monroe Township. Amazing on that donation.
I'd like to echo that appreciation to the township and the trustees for doing that for us. Any other discussion? All right, having no further discussion, call for a vote.
Patry,
Yes.
Drum,
Yes.
Dunaway,
Yes.
Mains,
Yes.
Secor.
Yes.
Motion passes. Next item up on the agenda is 10N, proposed staff positions. Recommended action is to recommend approval of the following instructional technology coach position job description, which is attached to the agenda as part of the public content. Is there a motion?
I move.
Moved by Mrs. LaCour. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Maines. Mrs. LaCour, do you have any discussion?
Yes, please. This is for 6 positions, K through 12. Is this going to be like at one But, is this one position per building or how's that distributed, the 6? That's one of my questions.
Yes, I just have a brief presentation. Is that okay?
Yeah, heck
It'll be
yeah.
very brief.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Is that okay with you, Mrs. Zipper?
Absolutely.
Essentially, we would like to propose the addition of 6 new instructional coaches as a new supplemental position at Tipp City Schools. We would have 1 tech coach at each building and 2 at the high school. So that would equal 6. The high school would have 2 due to enrollment numbers. Essentially, with the increased software applications that we are currently using at Tipp City, with what our teachers are doing, using the software for curriculum assessment and data analysis and student of tracking and monitoring student progress, we do have an increased need for additional technology support in each of the buildings. Essentially, the new instructional tech coaches would be providing necessary training and support to our staff for various software programs like GoMath, iReady, Newsella, Edulastic, our various Google products, and Reading Horizons, which is our new reading program at the elementary. The instructional tech coaches would also be providing more instructional support in case we do change instructional models, which we recently have from in-person learning to remote learning, to be able to support the staff with that transition. And finally, we would like to utilize the instructional tech coaches to provide necessary professional development to our staff during our professional development days. So we do see an increased need. I know I provided a brief description and essential duties. So now if there are any questions, I'd love to answer.
Yes.
Mrs. Court?
So because I saw the stipend, I'm assuming, because I was a little unclear, these are current staff members? And so they're just lending above and beyond.
To be a new supplemental.
And that stipend is for what, the year?
That would be the year. I wrote this in the fall. It's just taken a while with modifications and various things that have happened. So we would prorate it for the rest of the school year.
But typically it would be a year.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Mrs. Dunaway?
Is this, do we have to do an MOU with the union? Is this part of the TCEA contract?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes.
So then this position would also get the same increases? I mean, it's part of the contract. Yeah,
Yes, that's
Yeah.
the negotiated. plan.
yeah, perfect.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. Let me see. Oh, and so then if the 6 positions are approved, so then what does that department now look like? We have Mr. Bush at the top, and then how many with the 6, how many people are now in our department, like overall?
So the plan in coordination with Mr. Bush is that the instructional tech coaches, one of their responsibilities would be to serve on the instructional technology committee, which would include Mr. Bush, the other 3 staff members in the technology department.
So
and
10 people,
Me
10,
as the director of curriculum.
because we already have 3,
Correct.
which is, we had 2, then we went to 3, now we're adding the 6, so,
It would be a group of 11.
okay, great.
Could I check on that?
Hold on, Mrs. Dunaway, are you done?
Yeah, I just had that.
All right,
question.
Mr. Stefanik?
Yeah, I was gonna jump in on her question. The difference between the 3 we currently have and the 6 we're requesting. And it's not 100% this way, but if you could think of it this way, there's a little bit of differentiation. Keeping this operational, that's the main job of the 3 and Mr. Bush. Ms. Scott and the 6 we're requesting is how to use this
More effective.
more effectively and to get the biggest bang for your buck with how to integrate technology into the curriculum. And so those, the folks that would take these positions would be, I think, pretty safe to say, are trailblazers in using technology currently, and then helping some of their peers grow in their knowledge and skills in the use of technology in their classrooms. Sorry if I jumped in. Sorry. Okay.
And just side note, when I did do a school tour, I met a lot of the ones who are already doing this in the classroom, who are working with the smart boards and things like that. And they are an integral part in the school right now. I'm just saying.
Oh, no,
Very
no, they're integral.
They're integral. Yeah, they are very important right now. So, yes.
Anyone else with discussion?
one other piece.
Yeah, go ahead.
And we've gone through several drafts, and I'll look for a head nod from Ms. Yunker over here. But if the board approves these positions, the MOU is ready to go.
Yes.
Yes, okay. We've had several MOUs bopping around.
We do.
Just want to make sure what draft we're on of each one.
If this gets approved, I want to thank whoever's selfless and, you know, probably dumb enough to do this. God bless you.
Taking on a big headache. Taking on a headache.
Any other discussion? Go ahead.
The only thing I might add to this though is on that 6,000, or excuse me, 1,000 per coach. It doesn't say per school year. So I don't know, I just think that maybe you might want to put a little clarifier in there.
Yes.
And there's actually a clarifier in the MOU that's the starting point, because being a new position, we weren't sure exactly what stipend level to land on. So we landed on 1,000, but then we're going to evaluate in the second semester all the things that they're in the middle of and how much time they're giving to these tasks, and then negotiate over the summer to determine what the stipend would be moving forward. But that is the current annual rate. You're correct. So it needs to be put in there 1,000 annual.
So I'll motion, sorry.
I was going to ask you if you wanted to move to amend the recommended action to describe it as an annual position.
I will move to amend for $1,000 per coach per school year.
And so I told Mrs. Fox I would try to email her the amendments so she doesn't have to type them up. But if I understand your correction, your motion would be recommend approval of the following
Position.
And
6.
this is a second motion or revising?
This is an amended
existing?
motion
The main motion.
to the main. So 6 respective annual for 6 respective $1,000 annual instructional technology coach position job descriptions. Is that correct? So if I'll read it one more time, Mrs. Zakor, if this is correct, let me know. Your motion is to move to amend the current motion to read recommended approval of the following 6 respective 1,000 annual instructional technology coach position job descriptions. Is that okay?
I would simplify it, but
Okay. I was trying to work with them right. If you want, it's your motion.
I would just simplify it to say recommend amendment for the 6 positions at $1,000 per coach per school year.
So this is kind of the thing that we had last time where you're recommending amending the motion. Do you wish to just recommend the amendment reflect, so we approve it once and for all? So recommend approval of the 6 positions at 1,000 per coach, or do you want to modify the language and move to approve the modification and then rule on the motion? What's your intent?
That is a very complex formal process, Robert's rules, that I'm not sure how to answer. So I'm not answering.
If we're doing it strict, we have to vote twice, but if, I mean,
We don't, it has nothing to do with strict or not.
if we're doing.
You have the right
Strict.
you have the right to make a motion, to amend the motion to simply read. And we don't have to, vote again, is that you're voting to recommend the 6 positions at 1,000 per coach per school year as described in the attached job description.
I'm good with that.
Okay.
There's one vote now. There's no amendment.
Okay, so we don't have a second motion.
We're.
This
There's
is,
one motion.
this is a second motion. It's
It is
just an
The amendment is
amendment.
going to supersede the original.
And then it makes the other one moot.
It'll supersede the original.
So it's gonna read, recommend the 6 positions at $1,000 per coach per school year as described in the attached job description. I'm sending that to you right now. I will second Mrs. Zakor's motion to amend. And I could be wrong on them becoming moot, but I think that's right.
Okay, I've got the motion in. Motion by Simon Patrick.
Motion by Mrs. Zakor, seconded by
Okay.
Mr. Patrick.
So, Zakor,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Drum,
Yes.
Dunaway,
Yes.
Means.
Yes.
Motion passes. This may be procedurally incorrect, but I believe it's right. If it's wrong, I'll apologize next time. I'm going to treat the original motion as moved. Move on to item 10. Library trustee approval. The recommended action is recommend approval of the following Tipp City Library Board of Trustee nomination. Beth Weaver to serve an unexpired term that ends 12/31/2025. I will so move. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. Mr. Maines beat me this time. So first by Mr. Patrick, second by Mr. Maines. I'll open up discussion. I got an email from Attorney William House, who is I think the president of the Library Board of Trustees this morning. I forwarded that to you right before the board meeting started and get a chance to look at it and see that beforehand. But I'll read it for the good of the order here. It says that Mr. Patrick, the Library Board of Trustees, interviewed 3 candidates on Wednesday, January 5th, 2022 for the seat left by Judy, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this correctly, Dienst, and expires on December 31st, 2025. The names of these candidates and interview times are presented to the Board of Education in a timely manner via email from the Library Board President Wendell. The library followed the guidelines for selection of Tipp City Public Library Board members. Policy number 1, in accordance with the Board of Education procedures. A candidate was selected and voted on unanimously at the regular library board meeting on Thursday, January 13th, 2022. I present the candidate's name to you as the BOE president for approval by the Board of Education in accordance with policy number 1. Best regards, William H. House, 2022 President of the Tipp City Library Board of Trustees. And so I had requested that Mr. House send us an email letting us know, because I know last time we approved the library trustee that we had questions as to whether other procedures were followed, and I asked if he thought that might be a good idea, and if he did, to request that he send it over, and he did. He was nice enough to do that, so that we have the information needed to move forward. And so that's all I have as far as the discussion. Is there any more discussion? All right. Hearing no other discussion, we call for the vote.
Patrick,
Yes.
Means,
Yes.
Drum,
Yes.
Dunaway,
Yes.
and Zakor.
Yes.
Next item is the library swearing-in ceremony. So recommended actions are open to nominate, approval to have a blank person has not yet been designated, represent the Tipp City Board of Education at the library trustee swearing-in ceremony. Trying to see here.
February 10th.
February 10th.
Yeah, I was like, I have the list at home.
As I said, I can't remember how far back the email was, so I just rolled out here and asked. It was easier than searching the email. That's true. February 10th, 6:30.
I would move to to open it up for nominations. Is there a second?
I will second your motion.
All right. So discussion is there anybody that can make it on February 10th at 6:30 to swear the library trustees?
First thing on the agenda. Oh, it's a Thursday.
Is it Thursday?
Anybody? I'm not,
I'll volunteer.
if you're doing it out of obligation, I don't mind taking one for the team since you took the CTC, but if you'd like to go, I'd rather you go.
No, go ahead.
All right. And please forgive me to library board trustees for saying taking one for the team. I'm very happy to go.
It's very nice. Point of order.
I request that the Tippecanoe Gazette not print that. I'm joking, make it the headline. All right, so I guess I would be willing to go if nobody else wishes to go.
I can't say.
No, that's all right. So I guess the nomination then would be to approve to have myself represent the Tipp City Board of Education at the swearing in ceremony. And while this is probably not technically correct as presented, I would intend well, I'll just do it. I'll move to amend this to say approval to have Simon Patrick represent the Tipp City Board of Education at the library trustee swearing in ceremony on February 10th at 6:30 p.m.
Second.
So first and the second by Patrick and Zakor. Any further discussion? Hearing none, a call for the vote.
Patrick,
Yes.
Zakor,
Yes.
Drum,
Yes.
Dunaway,
Yes.
Maines.
Yes.
Next item is the board meeting schedule review. We've got a recommend action to recommend approval to reschedule the February 8th, 2022 work session to February 7th, 2022 at 5 p.m. and the March 28th, 2022 regular meeting to March 21st, 2022 at 6 p.m. I will so move. Is there a second?
I second.
All right, first by Patry, seconded by Mrs. Drum, and I'll have Mr. Stefanik kind of piggyback here on my discussion, or I'll just yield the floor time to you right now, Mr. Stefanik.
Okay, there were requests at the last board meeting that since February 8th is the MVCTC board meeting, that the work session be moved so that Mr. Maines could participate in both meetings. And then it was also shared that March 28th is during spring break. And so to see if we could get the meeting off of that Monday, and then nobody would have a meeting requirement during spring break. And so what I did was just looked at the calendar. Our regular meetings are on Mondays. And so to not have 2 weeks in a row with meetings, I figured the better place was going back to the 7th from February 8th rather than jumping forward to the 15th. And then on the 28th, basically we could go one direction. If you go the other direction, we're into April. And so we just backed it up to the previous Monday for the recommended. Those are just recommendations. It's your meeting. And so you can look at your calendars and see if those dates work. If not, you can suggest some others or not make any changes.
Any other discussion? All right, call for a vote.
Patrick,
Yes.
Drum,
Yes.
Dunaway,
Yes.
Maines,
Yes.
Zakor.
Yes.
Motion passes. 10R continuity of learning plan update.
I'll make the motion.
Motion to open up to discussion by Mrs. Dunaway. I'll second. Ms. Dunaway?
Really, my questions have been answered. I kind of filter them into other items.
Any other questions or discussion?
I just, if you have anything to add, Mr. Stefanik, since I added it on there.
Yeah.
If you have anything, now's your chance.
Yeah, well, I just say the continuity of learning plan is on our website. It was placed on the website over the summer. And again, a little congratulations and thank you to all the people that worked last year. The reason our plan is allowed to be called the continuity of learning plan is because it wouldn't make sense to call it a restart plan because we were in session last school year. And so there were a lot of school districts that did not go in-person learning last year. And so their plan for this year is called the restart plan, for their school districts. Continuity of learning plan talks about the different formats, in person, and then what remote looks like if we have to go to remote at the various levels. It also talks about some of the things we're doing to try to lessen the chance that COVID would be in our schools. And so those pieces are there. And when we put the plan on the website, we asked for anybody that has suggestions and things to be added into the plan to please share those with us at the office. And we could say this is a living, breathing document. And so if people have suggestions now and in the future, please share those suggestions. We will consider them. Again, just for the record, just because you make a suggestion doesn't mean that we automatically revise the plan. We have to vet the suggestions and see if they'll actually enhance the plan as we move forward. In addition to the continuity of learning plan, we have the latest CDC guidelines uploaded on our website. So you take the plan that we wrote up over the summer and the latest CDC guideline document on the website, and that's our plan as we move forward. We would hope that we don't have to revisit remote learning again, and so that we just had one stint in remote learning like we did last year, and so we'll keep working towards that end. But to go to Mrs. Dunaway's question from before, not all decisions about moving from in-person to remote learning look the same. This year's decision did not look the same as last year's, and so we'll just monitor what we think are the best ways to continue to maintain learning. We had a few people that made some suggestions, and we know it's difficult on parents. It's also difficult on the teachers to switch from in-person to remote. And we appreciate everybody's efforts, but when we hear suggestions that, we should just close for a week, that's an interruption. That's a major interruption. And whether it's a week vacation, a la spring break, whether it's a 2-week vacation, a la Christmas break, or whether it's a several-month vacation, over the summer, anytime learning stops, there's a little bit of a regression. And so what we're trying to do with remote learning is to keep some flow, of education and some continuity, to take the word off the plan, some continuity of learning experiences going. And that's where our decision came from for remote learning rather than just days off from learning. So again, we're open to suggestions. Please share those if you have them, and we will evaluate all suggestions as they come in.
I'd like to thank all the teachers, administrators, and everybody involved in keeping us in school last year, and keeping us going with remote learning. I know it's not easy on the parents or the teachers or the staff or everybody, and I know you're facing an impossible task, and I think you're performing admirably. Keep up the good work is how I feel about it. Mrs. Dunaway, or Mrs. Zakor.
I'd also like to add a great amount of thanks to the parents or the guardians, because I feel that it's really the most disruptive to their world. I certainly haven't forgotten the childcare days when I was very dependent and my world could get turned upside down very quickly when my childcare got disrupted. So I hear the parents, I feel for them, And I certainly recognize their great contribution to their child's education.
All right, Mrs. Drummond, you'll go first this time.
I just wanted to say I had quite a few little people at my house on computers. And I loved hearing the interaction with the kids. I loved hearing that it didn't feel like it stopped. The learning didn't stop. The talking between the children didn't stop. The socialization didn't stop. Like even on Friday, I know that that was a crazy mess, but those kids were so excited to not have teachers in a room and they were talking the whole time. And I just really appreciate you guys. They worked really hard. I heard great things coming out of the teachers' mouths. I heard really in-depth discussions within those classrooms, and they did a great job keeping everybody under control. So thank you. It was awesome. It was good.
Mr. Mays.
I would just add that I know there's a lot of grandparents out there too
Mhm.
that got to spend time with their kids, including my wife, and they also did a good job. You know, I think that parents, grandparents, teachers all did so good in cooperating. The teachers helped my wife. My wife was very good with what she was doing. I even got in there a little bit, but I did have to work. But I thought it was an awesome experience. And I'll say this, 3 of my little grandkids, kindergarten, 2nd grade and 3rd grade, loved the remote learning, which, you know, they had a good time with it. And they, you know, I don't want them to do remote learning all year. I think the social aspects of being in the classroom is great. And, but it was a good little experience for them. So you all did great.
Yeah, you really did.
Mr. Patrick.
Yeah, I just want to add, I need to thank my wife, her mom, my mother-in-law, my father, who took a lot of the heavy load on that. It was extremely disruptive and everybody pitched in, but everybody survived. So thanks for everybody's efforts.
Mr. Patrick.
Go ahead. This was fun.
I wanted to piggyback off Ms. Drum. Friday, we were very aware that Friday was choppy. And with the internet going down, and I want to thank folks for assisting with the decision about what to do when the internet came back up, you know, around lunchtime. But I also want to share with parents who shared input with me about the split day on Friday. Your voices were heard. And if we run into that situation again, we'll have some other options to consider to make it a little less difficult on the families if we would have an internet outage again. So thank you for those that shared constructive criticism about Friday's schedule.
Anyone else? All right. Citizens' comments, 11A. Do we have any others?
No signups for the late breeding.
All right. Item 12A, it's a discussion item for future board agenda suggestions. At our agenda meeting, Mr. Stefanik had the list of it, and we kind of looked at everything, and we had a really busy agenda. But I think that he's going to be recommending spots that work those in work sessions as he thinks makes sense. Is there anything else that any of you have thought of that you want to add to the list that we had from our last work session, or anything that you request to be considered for the next work session by Mr. Stefanik? Go ahead.
Okay, so I guess I misunderstood the first round because this is new, item 12. This is going to be a regular agenda item. Is that right, Mr. Patrick?
That's my understanding of what we decided at the last meeting.
Okay, so therefore, let's say, 3 months, 4 months from now, you might have something, think, hey, I want to, so that would be a good time to suggest it at that meeting for the next meeting. I like that. This is a good feature, I think, very relevant.
Mr. Patrick, can I jump in?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, I've got a running list, and the first list was pretty lengthy. So there was no way to say, hey, it's all gonna happen in February, or late January. And then I added the suggestion from earlier in today's meeting about more information and discussion about bullying policies and procedures. And so I added that to the bottom of the list. And so we still have a list from last meeting at the bottom. So we'll just keep this. And again, today's agenda did itself proud. It was a very lengthy agenda, very ambitious agenda going forward. So we couldn't add a lot of these in. Hopefully through work sessions and maybe some shorter regular meeting agendas, we can pick up some more of these items as we go forward.
Exit interviews.
Yes.
Mr. Maines?
If we think of something during the week, can we contact you to add it? Okay,
Yeah, just email me.
okay.
And Mr. Spy, thank you for remembering the bullying. I had that noted, I forgot. Anyone else?
It's still a pretty good list. There's great things to discuss in here, but it is a big list. And so we'll probably have to take them a couple at a time rather than trying to tackle the whole list at once.
The way my glasses cut off, I can't see. Sorry, I mean to interrupt you.
No, you're fine. I was done.
All right. If there's nothing else, then we'll move on to upcoming meetings. For the tri-agency meeting Monday, January 31st, 2022 at 6 p.m. It may be canceled due to cross. Is that? You think that is?
I think
Not
we
sure.
should just put that on there when we run remote. Just
Okay.
put that on there.
Work session is now Monday, February 7th, 2022 at 5 p.m.
Yes.
Change that.
Yes.
So that public content will need to change, Mrs. Fox. And then the regular meeting will be on Monday, February 28th, 2022 at 6 p.m.
We changed. Oh, no, that was the March
That's
one.
that one.
That was March.
And then both of the work session, the regular meeting are taking place at the Board of Education.
Spring break at the end of February would be awesome.
Not much of a spring. All right, I would entertain a motion to
I
adjourn.
do have a question.
Or go, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mrs. Corr.
The tri-agency, I didn't understand what you said, Mr. Stefanik. Is it or isn't, or you don't
Still
know?
on.
It's still.
It's still on?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we may put on there, may cancel. I saw in reviewing, I didn't see that we put on there due to increasing COVID numbers. I didn't see that as a reason, but it might be canceled. Some of the other ones were canceled in the past. For the newer members, this is on here in case we have 3 people or more that can make the meeting, but it is not a required meeting for the full Board of Education. Just so you know.
There's usually 1 or 2.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think the
One of
last
them is
one,
not bad.
I think the last
It's
one.
me,
Ms.
me,
Dunaway.
used to be me and Joellen.
Yeah,
Joellen and I always went.
I think, Ms. Secor, you were at the last one, right?
She was.
Yeah, so it was the 3 of us that were there. And then the folks from the city and Monroe Township. So, again, that's the covering your bases type of announcement in case 3 or more can show up and have the motivation to be at that meeting.
Anything else? I'd like to thank everyone for coming to our meeting and then would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Mrs. Dunaway, is there a second?
Second.
Mrs. Drum, second. Any discussion? Hearing none, call for a vote.
Dunaway?
Yes.
Drum?
Yes.
Means?
Yeah.
Patrick?
Yes,
Four.
Yes.
every time.
You're welcome to stay.
Is there a